I'm Sadie. I do a lot of the outreach and organizing for Digital Democracy Project. And overall, we're a nonpartisan nonprofit all about building a voter-driven system of government, putting more power in the hands of voters. So we'll start out, I'm going to share my screen with our explainer video, and then I'll try to do a quick overview of Digital Democracy Project, so that way we have plenty of time to go over the recent bills. And we'll jump through those, and then if you guys have any thoughts, comments you want to share about the bills, please do. And Dan, don't let me forget to introduce you before we jump into the bills, since you'll be doing a lot of the chatting. All right, well, thanks. All right, we'll start off with this explainer video, and let me know if the audio is not cooperating.
Ever wish you could tell your legislators exactly how to vote? Well, now you can. And it's right in the palm of your hands. Introducing the Digital Democracy Project, a mobile voting app and online tracking system, connecting you to the process, giving you the power. You vote on pending bills, on issues that affect us all, every day, telling legislators how you want them to vote. There's no party politics, no big money, and no special interests. We only compare what voters want to what legislators actually deliver, and everybody can see it. Your representatives, the media, everybody, all from your phone. Plus, it's absolutely free. It's as easy as 1, 2, 3. You vote on the same bills as your representatives. We track it online in real time, a running tally. Then we take score. We add up every vote on every issue and we post it. You can see if they have voted with or against the majority. And come election time, now you know the score. It's powered by blockchain technology, keeping you secure. And with ID verification, it guarantees that all votes are real votes by real human voters. And don't worry, we never store, share, or monetize your data. And we never will. We're just putting the power where it belongs, right in your hands. So join us. We have the technology. You have the power. The Digital Democracy Project. This is what democracy looks like.
You're on mute,
Sadie.
Thank you. I figured the rain was too loud. All right, so to start, we're going to jump through the different resources on our website, and then I'll show you guys how to get into the Votes app so you can start adding your votes in too. So to start, and we have it set up this way too, so that way anyone's able to see all this info. So this is our tally page. This is where you can see all the live bills that we've posted. So yeah, we'll start out with the Save America Act. So you can see each of the states will pop up that we've had votes in. You can see how the country overall has voted, the raw totals, how many support and oppose, and the percentages. And then you can see the breakdown for each state. And you can also zoom in on a state to see the district level breakdown. And I selected Florida because we had started statewide in Florida in 2023, expanded to add federal bills, and then 2025 expanded to where any U.S. voter can vote on federal bills, and then added state legislation for a total of 7 states this for 2026. And then next year, we're hoping to have all 50 states, or covering state legislation in all 50 states. So yeah, this is where you can see the district level breakdown. And then for legislators or candidates, this is where they can see the breakdown for voters in their district, how they feel about different bills. And then we'll provide a summary about the bill. And then I'll show you some of the other resources on our website. But before I jump over there, I'll also point out, this is where you can also see state level bills. So let's see, like Florida's doing one about property insurance reform. So that's where you can see the state bills and then the breakdowns for the state legislative districts. And then to jump back, so let me find my, here, we'll start with this one since I know it has some votes in there. This one became law. So for each of the bills, if you click on the bill scorecard page, it'll provide that same summary here, and then you can also link to see the full bill text. You can see the status of the bill. So this will tell you like the sponsors, the co-sponsors, plural provides this info. And then you can see that this one passed and the timeline of the actions and the votes on it over here too. And then some other resources on here. So the Kialo will provide pros and cons. And this is actually set up to where individuals can add in their own pros and cons and kind of have like a community discussion about the bill. So those will get moderated by our team before they show up public. And then another newer feature. So we have added in impact statements to kind of make it clear what a yes vote means, what a no vote means, why organizations may support or oppose. And then you can see stances organizations have taken on bills. And this will also tell you if you select the organization, you can get more background about them, more info. You can find out more on their website, contact them. There's an email contact form. And then you can also see all the stances they've taken on bills. So there's lots of orgs for some bills, not as many for some. And then another feature too, so our founder, Ramon Perez, he's got a background in AI. So he created this VoteBot feature it's programmed on the text of the bill. So that way, if you have any questions about the bill, maybe about terminology, you want more details, you can ask those here. And then you can also get kind of more info. It'll relay like the status of the bill, the vote history here too. And that's kind of something we created to help fill the gaps in the education. So we can kind of have a short, brief summary, kind of covering the main points, but then anyone can come here and get extra info about the bill too. And you can also close out and continue to look over the bill. And so this is the same tally map result. You can see the vote tallies on here. And then down here's the bill scorecard page. So here's where you can see how every legislator voted on the bill, which most of them voted in favor of this one. And then the first column, that's how the voters in that district had voted on the bills. So a gray bubble means we hadn't had voters in that district yet. And then the middle column's the floor vote of the legislator, and the third column's just illustrating how often the legislators' votes matched what the voters wanted, and then just reflecting that in that column. And then you can also get more info to see like how many voters had voted in that district. And there's not too many spread across districts, so we're always going to be focused on scaling up, getting more voters weighing in. And that's what'll also help give voters more power. Get a power numbers effect. The more people weighing in, the more representative it'll be. And then you can also see the House votes. It'll have the tabs for House and Senate. So that's where you can see all the vote info. And then, if you want to know more info, whatever questions you have, you can get that from VoteBot. And you can also ask it to do a web search too if you want. It can relay citations. Like I like to ask why organization supported or opposed. So that's kind of the overview about the bills pages. And I'll quickly point out too, so our team's also been working on updating our scorecards. So they're almost ready, but I'll show you what they look like to give you an idea. And then these are only displayed right now for Florida legislators. And then in the next, hopefully, week or so, we'll have the updated scorecards. There'll be a little updated features on each, and then we'll have them for each member of Congress, U.S. Senator. So these will just kind of provide all the vote history and comparisons for that legislator. So same here, the first column's like how the voters voted, the middle's how they voted on the floor, and the third's showing how often they matched how the voters had voted. And something clear about what we're doing too, this is all compared to how the voters are weighing in, so not our organization evaluating legislators. So the voters are the ones driving the accountability here. So this legislator had the highest score here. And then another thing I wanted to mention too, so we'll jump over the bills view page. And this is one of our main features, so you can narrow down if you want to see like federal legislation, state legislation, that's where you can do that, and sort by year. And then there's also categories here if there's a specific issue, topic you're interested in. And then for tonight, we'll be focused on the last recent 15 bills that we posted. And then for anyone that gets verified in the Votes app, you can vote on all the 2025 and 2026 federal bills. So that way, those are all for the 119th current congressional session. So anyone that gets in can go back and vote on previous bills and upcoming bills until session ends. Then the voting will close until we switch to the next one. And then, I'll pull up more features about the bills here in a minute once we jump over there. And I'll just quickly highlight, we do have a media page on our website. So our founder had done a TEDx talk about kind of his inspiration for digital democracy projects. So I recommend checking that out if you haven't. And he's been doing tons of interviews lately. So if you want to hear more from his perspective, learn more about us, there's plenty of content on there to check out. And then we do have an endorsements page. So we're posting candidates and legislators that have communicated to us that they want to use this tool as a way to hear from voters. And I know we have at least 2 candidates on the call right now. And I think it's, before I jump into the Votes app, I think I'll let you guys introduce yourself now. I see Dan on my screen, so we'll start with you. Let me just stop sharing my screen for a second too, so people can see you.
Hi, everybody. My name is Dan Williams, and I'm actually running for the House of Representatives for DC Congress, and I'm doing it for Florida's 11. This is my dog, Jolene, and she wants to join me. My idea is actually for direct democracy. So I'm trying to change fundamentally how Congress actually works. My plan of attack is for every major law or bill we try to pass up in DC, I'll make an educational video that helps explain that law using only facts and only nonpartisan terms. And then I'll give my opinion at the end about how I think we should vote. Then we're going to use the Digital Democracy Project in order to let everybody in the district vote. And then my vote will always go with the majority 100% of the time. And that's about me. Eric, do you want to go ahead and take it?
Sorry, I'm having technical difficulties today. But my name's Eric Yonce. I'm running in the 6th Congressional District of Florida. So that will be kind of the north central east part of the state. I find this as amazing functionality to use, to have a voice and to be able to look over these bills and see see it in plain language. I think that's where the confusing part gets for a lot of people, and to have input. And I think it's also key to hold our members of Congress accountable, and this gives us that ability in a very clear way. And I'm excited to be a part of it and learn more about it each time. So thank you.
Awesome.
Cool. We're always glad to have you.
Yes, thank you guys so much. Yeah, we appreciate people stepping up to run for office. And I didn't look through everyone else on here. Let me know if there's other candidates on. I want to give people an option. I don't see any that I recognize. But yeah, it is an option for any candidate or legislator to, what we call it, endorsing Digital Democracy Project. And yeah, the more people we get weighing in, the more they can get this input from voters too to help inform their voting. And yeah, Eric mentioned about being able to hold legislators accountable. So they'll all get a scorecard too, so we can see how well their votes are matching the voters once they get elected too. So yeah, that's kind of the overview about our website. And then I'm going to jump through the Votes app so we can get to the bills. So Votes, VOATZ, we partnered with them. They're real mobile voting technology. They started for service members overseas to be able to vote. And then they handle our verification process and compiling the votes from voters. And then that way everything gets relayed to our website. And we get asked about the verification a lot. So we thought that was really important to have so that we know these are real people. We don't have bots skewing the results or people voting multiple times. So that way it carries real weight for the voters. Legislators can't discredit the results, and legislators then can know that they're trustworthy so that they can use them to inform their voting. So if you're not already, I'll drop this link into the chat. And then if you haven't, we definitely would like for you to get verified in the Votes app. Again, that's how you get your votes added to then get relayed to the website. And yeah, we want as many voters as we can weighing in. So that's got a couple steps for how to get verified, and then I'll send everyone an email to follow up with the some more info. So if you have questions, you'll have my contact info that way. Definitely let us know. All right, so I think we'll jump into the bills. And I did want to mention too, I think Cassie's on the call too. I want to introduce some members of our team. So John's on the call. He helps out a lot with Michigan bills right now, and in a lot of ways, he's really helpful, kind of helping spread the word, doing some media. And I think Cassie is on the call too. So she does. She's our Washington State organizer. All right, so to jump into the bills, and again, anyone is welcome to share their thoughts on the bills. We definitely want to provide this as an opportunity to hear from you all too. And if you have questions, let us know. All right, so I know since the last...
a little bit about how we do it. So like normally what we do is we kind of talk about a bill first. Sadie will kind of give the basic description about it, and then we kind of all jump in after that.
Yeah, thank you.
Sadie, you didn't mention the thing that I like every time about scanning your ID and us not saving your data.
Yes, yeah, please fill in for me.
So whenever you sign up, you do have to scan your ID front and back, and then you have to take a selfie for it to verify you against the voter rolls, just to make sure that you're a registered voter. But as soon as you're verified, we delete your information. You just get a unique token on the blockchain that says that you've been verified, and then we don't keep your records or anything like that on there. So a lot of people are turned away from scanning their ID. We know that privacy is a big issue, which is why we delete all of your data as soon as you're verified.
Yeah, thanks for filling in.
And so basically that token just tells us what district you're in and where you're kind of allowed to vote or where we should put your vote.
Yeah, thank you guys. All right, so I think to get started, let me see where I know we left off. So
we have the first one, nationwide consumer and
that's
fuel
what I was
retailer.
looking at. Yes. All right. So yeah, Nationwide Consumer and Fuel Retailer Choice Act of 2025. So I'll provide a quick overview, kind of scan over this. So this bill would allow E15 gasoline, a fuel blend with 15% ethanol, to be sold year-round nationwide, expanding fuel choices and possibly lowering prices at the pump. Changes renewable fuel rules for small oil refiners by ending most special exemptions after 2027, giving some smaller companies lighter requirements, allowing emergency relief for plants at risk of closing. EPA would also update pump labels and fuel storage rules. So yeah, and this one, again, you can check the status here, and you can also ask VoteBot can relay the status. So I'll do that kind of while we chat, kind of showing you guys the other things on here. So does anyone have any thoughts to add?
We have any car guys in here?
I've worked on my car once. Does that count? I've changed an alternator.
So I was reluctant on this one. You know, I don't like adding the alcohol to our gasoline. Alcohol is bad for rubber seals, and it makes the gas go bad faster. It doesn't. It gums up your carburetors and stuff on older and small engines. I don't particularly like the idea of it, and I think that it would just increase the need for more corn subsidies, and to keep that whole like weird farming subsidy thing that we've got going even stronger. But at the same time, it burns cleaner, it raises the octane of gas, so you know, you don't have to refine gas as much in order to get the octane rating that you need. So there's a lot of trade-offs here, but I do think that if we started designing our engines in such a way to expect the alcohol, and we did better in our manufacturing process, that, you know, transitioning towards an alcohol-based fuel might actually be good for us. But I think we need to figure out a way to do it without corn as well.
Yeah. So not surprisingly, the agricultural people are for this bill.
Of course they are.
Go figure. But the main thing it comes down to is E15 creates more smog as well, especially in the summer months. So really this comes down to when you're allowed to buy or sell E10 versus E15 gas. And the E10 and E15 is just the percentage of alcohol in the gas. It's ethanol versus gasoline. And so E10, 10% ethanol, hard to say, ethanol, and then 90% gasoline, and then 15 and 85, right? But in the summer months, then E15 or the ethanol actually burns off faster because of evaporation. And so it creates more smog. So that's the reason we never used to sell it in the summer months. And really, this one is just trying to make it available, because normally it's taken off between June to September, I want to say. And this kind of deletes that kind of whole thing for it.
Okay. Interesting.
And yeah, and weirdly, E15 actually gives you less gas mileage. So how you were saying, like, that kind of stuff.
Efficient.
Right. So the thing is you're going to have to buy more gas if you use E15 instead of E10, because you have to fill up more because it doesn't get as many gas miles. So that's kind of also the issue.
I didn't realize that it was more of a pollutant, though.
Yeah, that was the main thing, that they didn't really sell it during the summer.
Yeah, and I remember reading about it's only cars made after 2001. I don't remember what the exact year was. They're the only ones able to use it, so that would.
You know what? I think I have that in my notes. Yeah, so E10 is the standard regular unleaded gas and is safe for virtually any car. E15 is often marked as unleaded 88. And wait, I have it in my notes. Only approved for use in passenger cars, trucks, and SUVs built in or after 2001.
So does it say what emissions it puts off more of? Is it like NOx, or is it CO2? Is it what a...
It just says rapid vapor pressure during the hotter months. It doesn't really say. It just says smog.
It's going to evaporate off, but
yeah,
I'm curious what that smog consists of, because as I understand, alcohol burns very cleanly.
Yeah. So for those people that don't know, I like to do a lot of research on the bills before we start this, because I like to dive into the weirder things of it. That's kind of my fun part, is like the weird riders and things. But I didn't look into the smog, so I have to look at that next. Yeah.
Yeah.
Eric, do you have any thoughts on the bill? I don't want to put you on the spot. I just want to make sure you get a say. Okay. You're on.
Yeah, and anyone's welcome to chime in too.
Yeah, I find it a little odd that it burns cleaner, but it produces smog.
Yeah.
Well, I think it still produces smog, but it's probably still cleaner than gasoline on net, right? Or maybe the concentrations of like NOx versus carbon monoxide or something is different.
It's actually a little bit weirder than that. So it burns cleaner, but the problem is that it evaporates out of the car, and the evaporation is what causes the smog, from what I've seen.
Interesting.
Yeah. So like it escapes more, I guess, is my thing. Yeah. Okay. But if we have any car guys, I would love for you to chime in. Or ladies, we could have some car women. Right?
Yeah, it looks like VoteBot. That's another thing I like to use it for. It'll provide like specific, some representative express strong support, emphasizing so different reasons, and then you can get the citations to read more. All right, and I know we have another gas-related bill. So, any last thoughts before we switch over? Yeah, 'cause this one looks like it did pass in the House, so not yet in the Senate though.
Correct. I don't think I have anything else for that one.
All right, let me jump over to the tally page.
Yeah, it's S4032 is what I think you're going to talk about. Gas Relief, Prices Relief Act.
That's right. Yeah, and the tally page kind of orders it pretty well for how you can sort it by federal there too, so you can kind of get the order that they were posted in. So we'll pull up the bill page though. So this one, let's see, Gas Prices Relief Act of 2026. This bill would temporarily remove the federal gas tax until October 1st, 2026 to try to lower prices at the pump. Drivers could see short-term savings while the federal government would replace the lost money so road projects and underground fuel tank cleanups do not lose support. Pushes fuel sellers to pass the tax cut on to customers and allows the Treasury to pursue penalties if they do not. So yeah, basically just suspending the federal gas tax. And yeah, I'll jump through some more of this if you guys want to share any other thoughts.
So for this one, the gas tank, the amount you're going to save is basically 18.4 cents per gallon. And it's 18.3 cents goes to the Highway Trust Fund, and then 0.1 cent goes to the Lust Trust Fund, which sounds scandalous, but it's actually it's actually the leaking underground storage tank. It's to help environmentality or environment concerns when you have leaking things down below. So they make a trust fund specifically to help with that for environment.
Mm.
Yes.
I think it's
kind of
interesting.
made by
50-50.
Say that again?
I think it's interesting that we're 50-50 on this if you look at the map.
Yeah, same.
I think people wanted to know more about it because most people were for it. So that was kind of it. But the only people that were against it claimed that they did not guarantee that lower pump prices shall be passed on to the actual people because they were concerned that the oil companies would keep it as more profit.
Yep.
But it makes no sense, though, because literally in the text of the bill, it actually guarantees that the Secretary of Treasury is to monitor the fuel suppliers to make sure that it actually gets passed on to the customer at the pump. So
yeah, but if you listen to the wording, it says that it allows the Treasury to pursue penalties. It doesn't say that it mandates the Treasurer to pursue penalties. I think that enforcement is a big concern right now.
Yeah.
Especially when it's enforcement on large corporations, especially somebody as large as the oil industry. I'm not sure that they would pursue that legal avenue. But on top of that too, it feels like, okay, so the federal government's going to replace the road spending, right? Well, that's just deficit spending, right? And then what we're doing is we're trying to alleviate a tiny bit of pain being inflicted on us due to the Strait of Hormuz being closed. And it seems like all that's going to do is prolong the problem because people aren't going to be as angry about it as quickly, right? And so, I don't know. I'm torn on this one.
But really,
I don't necessarily.
What's 18 cents?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, yeah.
18 cents goes up quickly, though.
I feel like 18 cents.
Like when you talk about 18 cents across
18 cents every
10
other day.
million gallons a day, that's a lot of road funding. That's a lot of deficit spending, right?
Yep.
And I mean, our deficit is absolutely atrocious right now.
Yeah, because it says that those will be covered by equivalent funds from the general fund. So we're still paying for that kind of stuff no matter what.
Yep.
So they don't really do it. But I have one weird thing. But Eric, did you have something before I do the one weird thing? Because I saw you were kind of talking. Okay. So the weird thing about this is when it expires. And you can tell it was made by Democrats because expires October 1st, which is just ahead of the midterm elections. So the gas prices will go back up just in time for midterms, and then the Democrats can be like, look at these high tax prices or gas prices and stuff like that. It's very blatant, but yeah, that's about it.
Not some co-sponsors on that one, surprisingly.
The political gamesmanship, I swear.
Tell me about
I mean,
it.
how about we just stop a war and stop what we're doing, and that will.
Yeah.
Hey, we got bills on that coming up. They didn't pass, but we got bills.
Yeah, that was some of the criticism I heard about not addressing the source of the problem.
Yeah, that's part of my problem too. And there's more I want to say, but we'll wait until after we get through the bills so I don't anger Sadie. I want her to kick me out of here.
Yeah, we'll try to cover just because I know people are planning for an hour or two, so I want to get through as much as we can. I'll mention too, I didn't highlight, there is a link on each of the bill page to vote on this bill, and votes is also an option through a web app. So even if you don't want to download their mobile app, you can also get verified through your computer, kind of log in through there, and then vote that way too.
And one other thing I did want to mention, if anybody else wants to kind of chime in on these bills, feel free to unmute yourself and talk away. But if you don't want to talk, you can always type it in the chat, and one of us will sniper it and make sure that we get your comments on there as well.
Yeah, we'd love to hear from you guys.
Yeah.
And I'm sure you're sick of listening to me just go off on all this stuff.
Yeah.
All right. Anyway. Yeah, so I think we'll jump into the next one. Yeah. Sorry, my cat's scratching at the door. All right, so this one I thought was interesting. So the Hot Foods Act, this one would amend SNAP, so Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program rules, to let recipients use their benefits for hot, ready-to-eat foods. Currently, SNAP recipients cannot buy hot prepared meals, which creates challenges for seniors, people with disabilities, unhoused individuals, and families without kitchen access. It would expand food access by allowing SNAP users to buy hot meals at retailers where these foods account for no more than 50% of total sales, maintaining restrictions on restaurants, keeping the ban on alcohol and tobacco purchases. And I did want to relay a little info because we had also carried the the rotisserie chicken
Rotisserie Act. Chicken Act. It was Senate Bill 4367, I think, in my notes. Yeah.
So I thought this one was interesting because obviously it's not restricted to only rotisserie chickens. And then this one didn't pass, but I read that the hot rotisserie chicken, that one passed in the farm bill. So just providing this one as like a different option than the one that did pass in the farm bill. So yeah, I'll jump through some of this if you guys want to share your thoughts.
Dan, where do you stand on this one?
I thought this one should have passed as well. So the only major difference between this one is it lets people get like hot soups and prepared deli meals and like sandwiches and of course rotisserie chicken. But the Rotisserie Chicken Act was very specific and literally just targeted the one chicken, where this says people can have access to the soups and things like that. And it comes down to not having a place to cook them or not having adequate stuff in order to make that happen. And then it's a really weird thing from a long time ago where people thought that raw food was cheaper and that they wanted more for their money. And so that's why they didn't want them to have to buy already prepared food. And it just doesn't make sense to me because people need that ability to kind of stop and pick up food for their family, especially if they're working all these hours. They can't come home and spend all the time cooking. And when you cook, you need like extra stuff and supplies, and it just starts to add up anyway. So honestly, it's the same no matter what it is. It should have passed, in my opinion.
Eric, what do you think?
I mean, God forbid we allow people to like buy hot food with their SNAP benefit. Like,
Right.
I just think it just surprises me that there's so much regulations like this in place, and then we're also talking about like, oh, you can't buy Coca-Cola with your SNAP benefits or soda. Like,
Right. Yeah.
it should have like. I mean, I just had a rotisserie chicken tonight, so I'm glad that one passed.
Yeah.
But, I mean, at least
Don't wave it in our faces. Rude.
That's my
Cassie, what
diet
about
right now
you?
is Publix rotisserie chicken. So.
I did a whole bill explainer on the hot rotisserie chicken act because, I mean, totally worth it. It was put together before 2008. It was back when grocery stores didn't also offer like sushi bars and all of this food that you could just pick up at the same time. And I think the bigger thing is, it doesn't take into account what Dan said, people having the ability to actually cook food, to store food, to have refrigeration. I don't know why they're thinking you have great transportation if you're on SNAP to get to somewhere to be able to then get food, get your kids, get back home, get to your jobs and still be able to make a meal. It's absolutely ridiculous, but I mean, it does come down to, well, we want our dollar to be valued and we want people to be using it right, which is why they want to regulate whether you can use it for Coca-Cola or.
You hit it right on the head right there. Is we think that you should use it the correct way.
We think,
Right.
and we are the ones who have I'm going to just go with the males mostly back then because of the amount of women that are not also in the Senate or the House that are making these choices that have never fucking cooked a meal in their life. Excuse my French, especially never for a family. And they have, see, little ladies know. So they have no idea, like, how long does that actually take? And then, like, something like a rotisserie chicken, like what you're doing now, Eric, like, I love those. You could get one a week. You can use it for so many different meals.
$5,
And
$6.
yeah.
They said it was the most inexpensive way to feed a family. That was what they said.
It is. Whether you're a single person and you're saving that, or if you've got you've got kids, you've got a big family. I'm from a big family. So, this one, it's sad that it's taken till now, I think. I'm glad it passed under the farm bill, but like, man. Yeah.
I just looked him up because I wanted to verify that. It looks like the Hot Foods Act is stalled and effectively dead. And then the Rotisserie Act is in committee still, but it did pass the House. So it's still in committee in the Senate.
Okay.
Yeah,
So
I was gonna add. Sorry, I want to jump in real quick on that note. But yeah, I think the bill, if the specific bill under that number passes, then we'll show it. But if it got like added into like the farm bill, then that won't be reflected on our bill page for that specific bill number.
Thanks.
So I want to preface this by saying I have a friend who is a homeless vet, and he, when he was on SNAP benefits, being able to go and get a rotisserie chicken is huge. Being able to get a $5-6 meal that has, high nutritional value and is already prepared, that's absolutely massive for so many people. That's so important. But I'm going to play a little devil's advocate here.
Before you do that, I want to mention one thing, because where would they expect homeless people to cook at as well? That would be
I agree. I totally agree. Yeah.
Okay. Play devil's advocate. Hit it.
All right. So Two things. The first one is going to be, I think rotisserie chickens at Costco are not a profit center. I think they're probably something akin to a loss leader, right? And if you have something like Snap that is consuming huge amounts of rotisserie chicken, is that going to encourage them to up the price to make it a profit center, or is it going to make them eliminate their loss leader and stop offering it altogether? And then on top of that, are there going to be grocery stores that now see that all prepared meals are able to be bought, and you have more Krogers and Publixes that have sushi out front and salad bars and really high profit margin, more artisan appearing food that generates them more profit because those SNAP benefits are now available for it?
I'll be devil's advocate. Right? So sushi and salad bars are not hot, so they wouldn't fall in this anyway.
Oh, okay. Tuesday.
I've got one for you, John. From the first point, which was, now I've forgotten your first.
That it's a loss leader and not a profit center.
So anybody, it's a loss leader for a place like Costco, but anybody who's on SNAP is not usually shopping at a Costco because they have membership card. Yeah. So they are actually, those chickens, the rotisserie chickens, are more expensive at other grocery stores than they are at Costco for that reason alone, even by like $1 or $2. But also, chicken is maybe, I think, our lowest main animal protein that we make in the U.S.
Yeah, I agree. But like I said, as I walk through Kroger, I see that they're now offering like St. Louis style ribs and pre-prepared fried chicken and pre-prepared, like the quality of pre-prepared food seems to be arcing towards more expensive versions. And I think that if you were to pass something like this that allowed people to buy prepared food, that they're going to turn that into more of a profit center. It's going to incentivize them to, and what it will actually have the effect possibly of you getting less bang for your buck by buying more prepared foods and less foods that you could prepare otherwise, assuming you have the option. I'm not saying, but would doing this tilt the market is what I'm saying. And would it cause ripple effects in the market that actually make the people who need SNAP get less calories per dollar?
Yeah.
Well, why couldn't it lead to having SNAP raise like the amount that we actually give out for it? Because neither of these bills are saying we're going to increase the amount we spend on SNAP. They're both just saying that you can buy this type of food with SNAP. So people are still limited by the amount of dollars that they have in their pocket or on a SNAP EBT card. So that's not even changing. They could look at, maybe actually what makes it worse is now they could look at the hot food and say, I could buy this, but I can't because I don't even have enough money to get it.
So I did some research while you guys were talking, and John is correct. Yep. So that is the loss leader strategy. It's because they make up their money on the higher margin items at the sides, right? And the exact numbers are slightly like obscured for most people, but they say they lose $1 or up to $3 per bird that they sell that way. So I think he has a point, but like, we have to do it somehow.
But I don't know, but I thought was so weird and interesting when I was like researching about that is like people can buy if it's cold.
You broke up. What did you say? Your mic stopped.
People can buy cold rotisserie chicken. You can't buy hot rotisserie chicken, but you can buy cold one.
Oh, interesting.
So supermarkets would actually create the hot ones and then put them in the cooler to cool them down and then sell those on SNAP as well. So we covered that one last month when we were talking about the original act. Yeah,
that's interesting.
Yeah.
All right.
So it's a way around it. But then they still have to heat it back up. And if you don't have any place to do that, then how do you do it? So
I feel like we covered this one pretty well. Any last thoughts?
Yeah. Anybody else have thoughts about the chicken?
All right. Let's see which one's next.
We did skip one along the way. Actually, we skipped a couple. Working Americans tax cut. Unless I'm out of order.
I'm trying to at least do the 5 for each set. So yeah, I have Working Americans tax cut, and then do we want to talk about the war or the tax cut one?
Talk about either.
We can go either way.
All right, we'll go ahead and do the joint resolution, then we'll do the Working Americans Tax Cut Act next. So this one, we've carried multiple of these, so I won't go too into detail about it. You guys can share your thoughts. But this is basically just the War Powers resolution to remove troops from hostilities in Iran. So you can see the vote results here. Yeah, you can see the vote results here. And I know in some of them that we had more orgs, but this one, for some reason, they didn't. I think they maybe stopped taking stances on every single version. But yeah, they keep trying to bring it up for a vote to get it to pass. And then this one, I believe it did not officially pass. I think this was a procedural vote that passed. But yeah, if you guys want to share thoughts.
I have that it's currently on the calendar because the Senate voted 50 to 47 to discharge the resolution from committee. So
Yeah.
it did get to make it out of committee at least onto the floor, but it's going to be stalled there for a while.
I'm not sure I've ever seen that much agreement on the map before. That's crazy.
Yeah.
It's yes
I
across
agree.
the board, every state. That is,
The
I'm
war
happy to
is
see that.
not popular no matter what you or who you are. So
Okay.
the big thing that this one does that's different than the other ones is it changes the definitions inside of the war powers resolutions. So that's kind of the main thing this does. I can talk more about this very quickly.
You elaborate a little?
Yeah. So it expands the word hostilities to include blockades because it was never considered that that's what we're doing right now. So that's kind of why we had to include that one in there. And then the other big one is it narrows self-defense to prohibit preemptive strikes. So that was a big one in there as well. So it basically is just kind of trying to limit the presidential war power into something that's more manageable and then more regulatable, I should probably say. Anyway, John, you had something about it?
All right, broad picture, I agree. We need to pull out. But at the same time, I think that since we're already there, that there's probably some benefit to having our Navy at least in place, if not being hostile, right? So the idea that we just like carte blanche remove all troops may not be the right move. Because I don't know if you saw, but Donald Trump had said that we're signing some type of memorandum of understanding to open the strait and blah, 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 blah. But Israel came out and basically said, yeah, we're not bound by that. We're going to keep attacking Lebanon. And so, what's going to happen is there could be a lot of weird things happening out there in that area that would benefit from us having eyes on the area to know whether or not people are lying about what happened or to have actual intelligence on what's happening and an ability to quickly respond to what's happening. I think
the Lebanon thing.
That's
The Lebanon thing is actually a separate bill that we're going to be talking about here in a little bit, and it does talk a lot about the eyes on it and the information that we're giving Israel about Lebanon. And so we do get to talk more about that one as a separate issue. If that kind of helps.
Yeah, but don't you think there's a benefit to just keeping our Navy ships there until after we conclude, negotiations, or to make sure that other things don't happen in the Strait of Hormuz when it's being unpatrolled? Considering the weird situation that we're in, you could have what was the group of people that were shooting missiles at passing ships? The Houthis,
yeah,
something like that. There could be factions like that take advantage of the indeterminate nature of what's happening, especially if all the military force leaves the area, right? I mean, pirates can come in and try and take over large oil tankers, or try and raid certain ships that are sitting in the strait, just waiting for everything to end. Because I know there's a lot of ships just parked, sitting and waiting.
Yeah.
And I think just our presence probably does have some benefit.
Yeah, but we could also be at a safer distance where we wouldn't be just right there, and we could still have a say in it. And the bigger issue for this one, the bigger issue of this one is it's kind of addressing how the war was supposed to be 60 days or less, and we've already way extended that. And so that's kind of what the bill is more about, is saying like, hey, you're done with your deadline, and that whole fake stop the war, start of the war, ceasefire thing doesn't count. And so that's really what the bill is about, is trying to either get him to have Congress acknowledge the war as an actual war, or pull out completely. And it does give 30 days in order to evacuate stuff. So we do have time still in the region where we don't have to immediately pull out. So we would have a month.
Eric turned on his camera. What you got?
Yeah, that's how I know he wants to talk to you. That's always when I'm like,
Also, I keep losing connection. I have no idea why. My laptop does not like Google.
I mean, it's stormed, so.
I mean, I think the biggest thing with this for me is we need to see where every member of Congress is going to vote on this, and that's huge going into the midterms.
I like that too.
Yeah.
Congress hasn't had a say in any of this, and I think that is the biggest. I mean, obviously Trump's doing whatever Netanyahu wants with a lot of this. Separate from this piece, I mean, we'll see how even this little peace deal works out with whatever's going on. I don't have high hopes on it.
So, are you saying that there's like a meta reason to hold this vote is because you want to know the stance of each individual Congress member, and that beyond whatever the effects of the bill are, we need to know what all their stances are before the midterms?
That's how I
actually
feel.
really like that.
That's interesting.
I think it's a really smart move. So I didn't think about it that way, but I like that you're thinking about that way.
Yeah, it's a very meta way of looking at it, but I think it's smart.
Even though this isn't a floor vote, I guess it does tell you who's in favor of at least bringing it up to a vote, which I think says something. And I know this did pass, one of the resolutions passed in the House, so for the sake of time, I probably won't pull that up, but if you search like HCon Res or search Iran, it'll pull up all of the bills that we did post, and I know one of them did pass. So yeah.
And the big thing about this one is that the president already put out a memo that he will be vetoing it if it ever gets to his desk, and so yeah, then we need
So it has to be a veto-proof majority then.
Yeah, which makes it even harder to do, but
higher bar.
Just
But
throwing it
it's
out there.
been done. We did
So
it
that's
for the
where
election.
knowing he's going to do that, we just want to get people on the record at this point of
Yep.
yeah, tell me
That's a
you
good
want
point.
this war.
Your meta
Yeah.
point's even more important, knowing that the veto's almost guaranteed then.
Yep, absolutely.
We're down to, we have 9 minutes left and 11 bills to go. So I'm going to try to
An hour is never enough time for this.
I
All right.
know. Might have to extend these. All right. So I'll save the Lebanon one for here in a minute so we kind of don't lose any. So this one was the Working Americans Tax Cut Act. This one would lower federal income taxes for low and middle income Americans, and it has the specific amounts, and then they're adjusted to match cost increases in cost of living, and then the tax rate would be capped at 25.5%, and then to offset these tax cuts, the bill would add surcharges on incomes over $1 million with even higher rates for those earning above $2 million and $5 million, shifting more of the tax burden to the highest earners. So any thoughts on this one?
I like this way. So I like the tiered structure of it, and I think the way they have it set up actually makes a lot of sense for it. Just so we can kind of get it out there, anybody that has or makes under $46,000 would pay zero in federal income. And they would have two ways of doing it. So you can either stop your employer from taking it out of your check, so you would have a bigger paycheck each and every month, or you can still have them take it out of your paycheck and then get 100% of it back at the end of the year, kind of like a bonus at the end of the year kind of a thing. So that's kind of the cool part about it, because it would actually help kind of supercharge welfare checks and things like that. Because normally if you get a welfare check, then they actually take your tax out of it, which it makes no sense. And so that's kind of where it falls. Now, if you get from 46,000 to 80,000, let me check my notes, 500, then you receive a partial tax cut. So it kind of comes out to I think it was $1,000, I want to say it was. It's something about that. I'll check my notes in a minute when somebody else is talking. And then if you make 80,000 to $1 million, you have no change in your taxes. So all the way up to $1 million, right? And then over $1 million, you get started hitting by the new tiered system. And the new tiered system, let me see if I can find it. You pay 5% between $1 million and $2 million, 10% on $2 million to $5 million, and 12% of an extra tax on anything greater than $5 million. So I like the way they do the stepped tiered process of it, and I think the way they have it laid out actually makes a lot of sense for it.
I know that the payroll tax is one of the greatest sources of income for the IRS and for the federal government. Do you think that if you did the actual raw numbers on this, does the progressive side, does the tax on over $1 million offset the loss of the payroll taxes at the bottom?
I would be 100% shocked if it didn't. Like 100%.
I don't know. Going from 10% to 12%. I don't know.
That's
Do we have
what we're
enough
talking
millionaires to
about.
offset the payroll?
Well, you
tax?
got it. Like, what's the audit standard deduction right now? That's like 15,000, right?
Yeah.
So is this just then raising the standard deduction to 46,000?
Yeah, pretty much. Effectively that. But it
interesting.
also gives you a discount on the 40 to 80,000 if you make that.
But like anybody, then technically the standard deduction would be for everyone, right?
That would apply to millionaires too.
Correct.
Oh yeah, I'm sure.
So
And
that's the
applies-
weird.
It does apply to ordinary wages and capital gains for millionaires. So
It applies to capital gains tax as well.
it does.
So is that on top of the capital gains tax, or is it baked into the capital gains tax?
It's baked into it, is from what I found so far in the research. I thought it was weird too, so I was like, I'm going to say this because I saw it. It was like highlighted that part of it, and I was like, I find that part interesting. So,
Nice.
yeah.
All right. So, oh, if you got one more thing, yeah, I'm just watching the
We
time.
got 4 minutes. We can squeeze another one in, Sadie.
I think, Dan, did you have something you were going to add? I think I cut
Nope.
you off.
Let's go to the next one.
Yeah,
Never
this
give me
is
a chance to
like I was going to say, that's a dense bill. So, yeah, there's lots that could be said about that. All right. So the last 10 or so, again, we'll pause and at 8, but then we'll keep it going. So I think, okay, maybe since we talked about we kind of touched on the Lebanon, I'll bring this one up. So yeah, this one's basically the War Powers Resolution for Lebanon. And yeah, thank you, Debbie, for joining. And yeah, I'll send you an email if you have any questions or want more info. Thanks. Yeah, so this one require the president under the War Powers Resolution to withdraw all U.S. armed forces from out of Lebanon within 7 days and quickly end direct U.S. military involvement there, likely reducing danger to American service members and lowering the risk of the U.S. being drawn into a wider regional conflict, strengthens Congress's role in deciding when U.S. forces stay in overseas operations, but could limit America's ability to respond quickly in Lebanon. So any thoughts?
My only part for this one is that, again, they're just trying to kind of clarify about what being in wars or being hostility is, because we aren't involved in like boots on the ground for anything in Lebanon. But what we're doing is we're giving them so much intelligence that, and it crosses over the line into actually being hostile against Lebanon. So that's what the bill actually says for it. Yeah. Eric, did you have something? I thought
Well, I just like get into the first thought in my mind is obviously we don't have troops and soldiers over there besides maybe protecting our embassy or any actually things that we have there. But is there something that we don't know? Like, are we active over there that we just don't know? And this is Congress saying, hey,
They have some inside baseball on some troops that are there that aren't public knowledge.
because I remember hearing like Randy Fine and a lot of these other guys laughing and be like, huh, they want to put this bill in and we don't have troops in Lebanon. Like, there's some reason this is going on. And I don't know if there's like full transparency on this, but
This is also hard to be a candidate because people ask us questions about these wars,
Yeah.
and we know as much as everybody else. Like, we don't have secret news information about it, so we're trying to like take information that we get and try to process it just like everybody else. So, yeah.
Okay,
I would agree.
here's where I have a little bit of a problem. All right, I think that these bills are written for like this really specific action to be taken and this outcome focused action, but like I think instead we need to do more to define roles and to define actions, like what we're actually doing. So I wouldn't have a problem with our troops being in Lebanon if we stationed them in places where Israel's attacking, so that if Israel accidentally attacked one of us, then we get to like break ties or fight back against Israel or something along these lines, because we could take a protective especially considering Israel just coming out and saying like, hey, we're not bound by the US-Iran agreement. Like, we'll keep attacking Lebanon if we want. Like, that's actually a good reason to keep our troops in Lebanon, right? Like, and so instead of being focused on this like almost short-sighted action. We should just redefine the role. If we have anybody in Lebanon, not saying we do or we don't, right? But if we have people in Lebanon, let's put them over in the places where Israel is likely to attack, so that they have to kind of abide by the U.S.-Iran agreement, right? It's ensuring that our agreement continues to be tenable, right?
So the only problem with this as well is that we're giving information to Israel, and at the same time, we're actually doing the peace deals between Israel and Lebanon. So we're not maintaining impartialness between the two of those. And then how do you lead the peace treaties if you're not impartial?
We could just stop giving intelligence to Israel. You can put that right in the bill. Just tack that on right at the bottom, no more information sharing with Israel on any Lebanon intelligence.
And I'm going to interrupt for a second. So we are at the 8 o'clock hour. So I want to thank everyone for coming in case you have to hop off. But yeah, if you do want to hang out, you can. We'll cover the rest of the bills, 8 or so bills left. And then I'll also send out the recording if you want to check it out later. And then we'll have these every month. So I don't have off the top of my head when the next one is in July. But that I'll include that in the email too. And then if you know anyone that might be interested in joining, please invite them as well. And we definitely like to see you guys back every month to hear about the new bills too. And then I'll send you an invite to our Slack channel too. We have July 21st. Okay, thank you. And we have a Slack channel where you guys can stay more in touch with us and relay bills to us too. If you're tracking bills or you hear about any, we definitely want to know about them. So that's a good place where you can do that too.
Or you could message me and we could just complain about politics together.
Yeah.
Go on.
All right. Yeah. Okay. So I kind of interrupted. So we want to pick up conversation back on here? I think someone was about to.
I think I'm good.
Yeah, I think it's pretty straightforward. I feel like we're hamstringing ourselves though with a kind of it almost seems performative, right?
Yeah.
Instead of forward long-term thinking.
Yeah. It also seems like these are coming too late for a lot of things, or they take too long, and so they're not even going to be effective by the time we get there.
I mean, that's back to being the performative aspect.
Correct.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
All right. And then if I didn't draw attention to it, but yeah, this one did come up for a vote and failed. So I thought the results were pretty interesting compared to other ones. So 92 yes and 324 no's.
Wow.
Yeah, and that's got more of the breakdown. And then again, you can see every individual's vote on there too. Because I was looking at Florida, Maxwell Frost was the only one that voted in favor of it.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
I'm surprised that people were against pulling our troops out of Lebanon.
We don't have troops in Lebanon. Officially.
Other than what Eric said, I mean, I'm sure we've got some stationed around the embassy. I'm sure we've got some, some interests that require some troops in place, but not in a not in a fighting capacity or an offensive capacity, presumably.
I actually think I did that on my notes. All right, doesn't matter.
All right. I think we'll jump into the next one. I realized I should have probably started with the second reconciliation bill.
Oh, I just found it.
Oh, go ahead.
I had something for it. I had to scan my notes because I was like, wait. So the opponents of it argued that same thing, that it was poorly drafted and would have forced the removal of troops guarding the U.S. Embassy in Beirut and destabilize the Lebanese government. That was it.
Interesting. Okay.
Spot on, as always.
All right. So, we'll go ahead and jump into this one. Stop Child Care Scams Act of 2026. So this bill would strengthen anti-fraud protections in federal child care assistance programs. States would be required to implement more rigorous eligibility verification, establish stronger internal controls to prevent fraud, investigate suspected scams, annually report improper payments, and recover misused funds. If states' improper payment rate exceeds 5% in any fiscal year, it must submit a corrective action plan and show progress. And failure to do so for 2 consecutive years could result in loss of federal funding. And yeah, that's most for that bill. Permanently barred from federal child care and related food assistance programs. So yeah, any thoughts on that one?
So this is directly from the Minnesota thing where they're convinced about all the different fraud going on for the child care stuff. So this is 100% because of that. Like that was the triggering thing for everybody because everybody thinks it's such a big issue. That's what this is from. So yeah. The other thing, go ahead.
Oh no, go ahead.
So the other thing that she was kind of saying at the end there was it was a single bill to start with, and then it got shoved in a whole bunch of bills all together. And that's kind of why it became like a Frankenstein bill of like a lot of different stuff. So.
Eric, you got any thoughts?
This is one of those, to me, it's like, yeah, we want oversight and we want some type of, like, we shouldn't have fraud in anything that we're doing. Obviously, it's going to be there, and we have to have protections in place to fight against fraud. But I don't know. Like, I feel like I need to dive in more on this and understand it more.
Yeah, this one feels like a meme. And like Dan was saying, it seems like it came from that stupid kid that made that dumb documentary that obviously didn't like. He just completely misunderstood everything that was happening. And he was, you know, there was already like 72 convictions that had happened before the kid made his documentary, right? But though I hate the source of it, it's hard to be against the plain language of the bill at the same time, right? Like it seems so obvious. And I'm wondering if there's a poison pill in here somewhere. If
there is.
Oh, is there?
Waiting for it.
Something in there that's making this, I don't know. What is it? Hit me, Dan. Give me the bad news.
It is. We've covered this so many different times, and the people up there keep trying to push this. It is digital currency again. It has nothing to do with anything, but they put another digital currency where they are trying to force it to not allow the Federal Reserve to study, develop, or issue central bank digital currency again. It is because Trump owns World Liberty. World Liberty wants to corner the whole entire digital stablecoin market, and they just don't want any competition from America because China has their own, America needs our own, and then they keep blocking it every single time. And this little rider was added on by, wait, I wrote it down, Representatives Cloud, Moore, and Biggs. And it's just so, it needs to be taken out because it passed the House as it is. But it needs to be taken out of the Senate because it makes no sense that it's there and it needs to get sent back to the House because it drives me insane that they keep adding this stupid thing to these really not bad bills because the bill itself isn't bad. The only concern I have is that they would kind of block other child care in advance and then they start blocking everything and then they have to like prove that they're not being fraudulent instead of going after clearly fraudulent or people that are suspected fraud. So that would be my thing. Like I would just switch it around kind of more. And then I would take out the digital currency piece because I've covered so many different bills where they put this rider in there and it's never passed. And it's driving me insane because this has to be, I want to say, not exaggerating, the 10th bill that we've covered that has this digital currency rider in it. And they keep trying to put in.
It shows you how unserious they are about the actual issue in the bill, though, right? Like if they were actually serious about the bill, or if they actually cared about the bill, they wouldn't be attaching these riders that make it less likely to pass, right? The cynicism that's being displayed by this behavior is kind of gross.
Yeah, 100%. Because they think that everybody's just going to read the childcare part and be like, well, of course we don't want childcare scams and everything's fine. No one's going to dive into the weird parts of the bill. And that's where all of the weird stuff always lives. And I'm like, anyway, I know I'm preaching the choir, but that's my 2 cents for that.
Yeah, you'll see over the next couple bills we cover that there's a bit of a theme going on with a lot of the bills that have been filed or passed in the House recently. Yeah, I don't know if I want to stop on the fraud or, continue on the fraud topic, or maybe I'll try to stick in order a little bit more. What'd you say?
Let's do it.
On the fraud topic? Okay, we'll do, there's 3 other fraud bills, and then we'll jump in to the other ones. So this one, Stopping Fraudulent Payments Act. This bill authorizes federal agencies and the Treasury to temporarily pause or split government payments flagged as high risk for fraud. Using objective indicators like unusual payment activity or data mismatches, agencies must quickly notify recipients and let them contest the decision, while only the suspicious portion of the payment may be delayed, so routine low-risk amounts continue as usual. Payments related to law enforcement are exempt, and the Treasury must submit annual reports on the number, outcomes, and challenges of paused payments. All right.
This basically flips the normal model, because normally they pay and then chase. So they race to get the money out to the people, and then if there's fraud, then they let the legal people kind of claw it back, right? Where this flips it, and now they're going to make sure that it's okay first before handing out any money. That's kind of what's happening there, and that's kind of what it's saying.
I don't know if I'm happy about this one. Eric, what do you think? What are your thoughts on this?
I'll let you go. I don't.
Yeah, I'm just processing it. I'm just going over it, and it just seems like this is a way for, if you had a particularly dumb or hyper partisan actor, or somebody who doesn't understand their role, or a whole bunch of different people in too powerful of a position, they could just say, "Oh, I don't think I like these people. I think they're committing fraud just because, and so I'm just going to stop payments to them." And then you're now putting this undue legal burden on the people who should be receiving these federal payments. And I don't, I like the principle of innocent until proven guilty. And I think that, we've got inspector generals at all these different departments for reasons. And I think that it's, this fraud is being investigated anyways. And this doesn't seem to open up new investigative routes or tools to make it more likely to catch fraud, just that you get to stop up the works if you want. And I'm going to
support your theory here, because in the bill itself, there's actually a whole entire clause that shields bureaucrats from legal problems that they would cause.
Ah, interesting.
Right.
So it indemnifies some actors. And then on top of that, it basically says, like, well, you can't do this for law enforcement at all. Is that to say that there's no fraud in law enforcement? Like, there's never been law enforcement asking for money that they don't deserve, or outside of their regular payments or something like this that seems like it could be fraudulent that you should be looking into. It's a weird exemption to carve out, and it just seems like it could be used as a political cudgel. Again, without opening up new avenues to investigate, or without unlocking new tools to find fraud. It's just allowing somebody to just say, well, I don't feel like it, whenever they want, and then indemnifies them from that decision. It seems like
absolutely, because that's exactly what it does. So it just gives them complete and total anonymity for it, because as long as it's in good faith, that's what it is. So
yeah.
Well, we know that's illegal.
For any reason, right? They can just say nope, and then they can't go against them for it. They also have the power to segment payments. So, like, you can pay out partial payments. Like, I'm going to give you this money for that, but you can't spend it on this until I get this approved or check it more or stuff like that.
Dan, does it
I don't
allow
think I
them
like
to claw
it.
One more time?
Does it allow them to claw back as well? Or
Oh, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that doesn't really, that's always going to be there. This is
So that still
trying to do
exists.
both. Right.
Okay.
So
Okay.
if
So
fraud
now-
gets out there, they can always go, right.
Before,
We're just trying to
middle,
stop it
and
from both.
after. Yeah. Okay.
You got it. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Are we ready for the next one?
Impressive. It's impressive.
I don't
when
like
they-
it.
I don't like
I think I had one more thing.
All right. Sadie.
Yeah, I'll skip it.
But
Okay,
again,
go.
on the plain language, it seems like, how could you be against this, right? Like, on the plain language, it's one of those things that feels so obvious. It feels so common sense, and yet,
That's- This is the way bills are written, is like they write it so you're like, well, clearly this is correct, unless you read the bill and then you're like, this is not what the bill does at all.
Yeah, the Stop Punching Children in the Face Act. Yeah,
Right.
it's obviously
But
like,
secretly allows you to punch them, but you can also kick them. So that's what, right.
Pick and punch. But I think that's what's interesting, and I wonder, like, on the digital democracy front, if there's a way. I know we do the bill summaries, but if we're just doing bill names and then we've got thumbs up, thumbs down, how else can we be showing, like, what this bill really means besides just the name of it? Because, in Washington up here, we have to fight pretty hard to get names for initiatives that are on ballots that actually mean what happens within that initiative that's going on the ballot.
oh, interesting.
Yeah, it's like a big fight right now that we got sort of kind of passed this past legislative season, which was pretty cool. Of like, the name has to be approved. You can't just get that name because you're the group who wanted it and you tested the name out and that's what pulled the best for your segment.
Honestly, that's kind of great legislation.
Pretty freaking cool. Really good nationally. You know, if there were any Congress people who are running who might want to pick up. But I think, like, I wonder if there's a way that we can also be helping ourselves out and the population in general when we see we're just showing the name of the bill, thumbs up, thumbs down. And I can also put that in the Slack ask.
I don't know. I mean, I feel like as a nonpartisan, that feels like that's brushing really close to putting our thumb on the scale too, right? Like all we can do is just tell you what's in the law. Like in that's what the Kialo's for, right? You go into the Kialo and you say, look, here's some things that show that maybe this isn't as straightforward as it appears to be. Here's some riders that they attach to it, was why we should be against it now at this point. But I don't know. That's an interesting question. It's definitely something we should talk about.
This is also why I want to make educational videos for each bill that I try to pass, because I want to be able to explain it. Because a name doesn't really do anything. The brief description never gives you anything about the bill, and no one's going to read the full text. So the name doesn't help, the small part text doesn't help, and no one's going to read the big text. And so I think people will watch a video and be able to like listen to what I'm saying, and then I can give my opinion at the end, which is kind of more partisan. But the first part will be nonpartisan as hell, so it's going to be good.
And so can I just so this is really a good point. Sorry, I had to step out for a little bit, but on the one you were talking about with the kids, and so when I was looking at the pros and cons in the summary, the thing that it didn't spike out was about the stuff about
digital currency.
Yes, thank you. The digital currency. There was nothing in there. So I've got the pros and cons. I've got the summary, but what it didn't give me was like, hey, and here's this odd thing that, this text in the bill that has nothing to do with the title or 90% of the bill. I think it'd be nice if the summary also spiked something out like, hey, here's the unusual thing. So even in the pros and cons, it didn't say, hey, what's in the cons. It says, oh, it could be burdensome for agencies to report these new regulations and things like that. But nowhere in the summary or in the pros and cons or anything did it say, oh, and here's this weird thing that's going on in a bill related to kids, but totally unrelated to kids whatsoever. I think it'd be nice to have that, like not like it's a scam alert. I don't want to, but it's kind of like a scam alert. Or it's like it's the pork stuff in the bills, right, that they just put through. So it'd just be nice if it was like a little asterisk thing that says, oh, and there's something in this bill that has nothing to do with kids.
Our summary normally would pick up things like that. The problem is that like what Dan was talking about with the cryptocurrency thing, it was added as an amendment or as a rider late in the process. And so what's happening is, you've got all these citizens that are reading this bill and voting for whether or not they support this bill. And then right before it comes for a vote, some guy stands up in the House and they add this amendment to it that has nothing to do with the bill. But if that cryptocurrency thing was in the bill text from the get-go, our summary would usually encompass something along those lines.
So then I guess, John, the question would be, if there is a rider, how does it get attached? Like, how do you incorporate the rider? Like, this is a perfect example. It's like, how do you attach the rider to this bill? Because now we're looking at, I would say, maybe because it's not in the text of the bill and it's a rider, we're not really looking at it comprehensively.
The full scope of what's passing. Yeah, no, I think you're absolutely right. But if you think about from a technological perspective, I mean, our hands are kind of tied here because there are some bills like I think the Big Beautiful Bill, when it was going through, it had something like 150 or 200 proposed amendments. Yes. And, we would have to attach so many amendments, but also keep in mind, once you vote on the bill in the Votes app, it's locked. And so unless you wait to vote at the very, very last minute for every single bill, even if we did have a system to attach all the proposed amendments, which isn't realistic, you wouldn't be able to get your opinion on the bill directly to the representative before the vote. So what we have to do is we have to make the representatives realize, like, the thing that you can use the Votes app for is to see what the people think about the bill itself. all of those amendments and all of those riders, you have to be vigilant, and you have to stop those from going through, the things that your voters won't like. And we have to trust our representatives to be able to stop all of those unnecessary and irrelevant amendments being added and proposed. Because
this is why I like
don't have a way to get in front of this.
I'm going to say something cynical. I really don't trust my representatives, and my view is only with tax bills. That's my only experience, and I can tell you, I don't trust those. I don't trust them to understand anything about the tax law. And so I barely can. If I can't expect them to understand tax law, which is in my wheelhouse, I definitely don't think they're understanding a lot of the other stuff too. So I'm really cynical, but I'm like, I don't know if I have that much. I don't know if I'm that nice a person to trust them, I guess.
Well, we understand, but that's why we want, we don't want representatives to go up and vote for a bill simply because there's a rider in there that they snuck in that has nothing to do with the bill, and then try and go and point to the Digital Democracy Project and say, but the people supported it because they didn't support what was in the rider. And I think as people understand how the system works, how our system works, and how impossible it would be to continue to amend this text every single day that a rider is attached to a bill, and also you being unable to go back and change your vote because a rider was there, and even if you did, it wouldn't matter because the riders are attached right before the vote happens anyways, and your representative wouldn't be communicated to your representative anyways. There has to be some level of honesty about what we're capable of. Right,
and a time frame to be like locked, because that's the other
exactly.
Is it possible?
Is the problem of digital democracy, though? I think the problem is that we allow bills to have writers on them at the last minute when there's changes it entirely.
Where's my emojis?
That should be emoji that, but like that should be changed at the congressional and state levels. We should not be doing that on the floor. That should not be.
That's something we need to address as a process, and not necessarily something that we can address from outside. And
as we could show how many times it happens.
Wait, she was saying something. Go ahead again.
I was saying, I wonder if it's possible. So even though it's happened, John, would it be possible to, even after you voted, even just from an educational perspective, or maybe having that information even afterwards, maybe a little asterisk that says, hey, there's a rider attached to this. And you may have voted, it may have already passed, but so let's say today I didn't know that this happened and I voted on the bill based on the fact that, hey, it's helping kids. I voted like, yes, it's a good bill, let's pass it. Then there's this rider that gets attached and we can't do it, let's say in real time or before the vote, and my vote is locked. Do you think it would be worthwhile to add it on the back end anyway, and still put a little asterisk saying, hey, you may have voted for this and it's locked down, but this bill had riders and amendments attached to it right before it was voting. And so then I can go look at it, and let's say, I say this, but let's face it, it's not like I may not, but let's say I look at it and now I say, whoa, wait a second, I don't agree with this. And maybe it's still going through the process and I still have an opportunity to call my representative and say, no, I don't think this is good. This is BS that you guys, that this got added at the last minute. I'm just wondering if that's possible.
Let me sniper this, because we've actually had this conversation with the Digital Democracy Project in general. Because we've been trying to figure out how best to address the amendments and riders and stuff like that that got added later. And we have been like internally talking about it, like a big conversation about it. We're still trying to figure out the best ways to handle it. But Sadie, can you verify something for me real quick? Are you on?
Yeah, I was waiting to be able to jump in.
Good. We can change our vote up until the fact when it's due, right? Correct?
Yeah, so a couple things. The voters and the Votes app, you can change your vote. I think there's usually like a 24-hour window, and then after that, you can go back and change it. And then some other things too, we do try to kind of keep a balance where voters get a weigh in first, so legislators have that info before they cast their vote, but we also try to wait until it's pretty far through the process so that we can try to catch these amendments. And I know too, Ramon is talking to our tech team. Once they get the scorecards out, they're wanting to work on updating the website, like making a bunch of new changes and such. So they're looking for feedback on that too. So I'll relay this to them too about that, because I think he's mentioned too about kind of breaking the bills apart and getting feedback on different aspects of the bill. And then I was going to add into like the Kialo for each of these. That's where people can add at any point. So like if there are people that are more informed about the bills, we really like them to be able to relay things like that so that everyone can see it. So even now, like I'll have to go back and we can add that in there to the Kialo at least, so it's showing up in there. And then another thing too, I like to always ask VoteBot, like, can you tell me reasons for opposition? And try to, especially if there's an organization that's taken a stance, they can usually pull their specific citation. So I'll try to like dig around to try to find those things before I make my vote. So VoteBot can sometimes help pull some of those if they didn't get relayed in the summary.
And so my solution for it that I kind of would like to see is that if something gets changed in the bill, then everybody that has voted on the bill will get notified and then have the ability to change their vote to see if that sways. So even last minute, you can see like, oh, something changed on my bill that I voted on. You can try to click and change it and review the change. So that's what I would like to see personally. Say that again.
We have done that before.
Yeah. So that just to kind of like let you know my perspective on that is I would like people to have the bill. I'd like people to have the ability to change that vote at the last minute even, because if stuff gets added, I would like them to have that knowledge.
I think in the future, when we have more resources, it'd be cool to vote directly on the amendment proposals themselves too. And see, you know, if there's 150 proposed amendments, you can scroll through them if you want as a citizen, and you can say yes or no to whatever amendments. But I think that we need to stop being so. The Congress people need to stop being so cynical in this process. Like you were saying, they keep trying to add that crypto amendment to every single bill that comes across that they don't care about. And in fact, it may actually be a way of torpedoing legislation too, not just as a way to get their crypto amendment by, but as a way to torpedo things that they don't like without having to come out and be against it.
That is super interesting. I never thought about that. Like a landmine that they can just put in any bill.
Yep. There's a lot of political gamesmanship that I think.
Let's not put that in the world. Let's not give them ideas.
You're messing with people's lives, man. It's not okay.
Ugh. Blurg. Okay.
All right, and
thank you for your thoughts, though. I appreciate that.
Yeah, I was gonna say I'll definitely include. I don't think you joined our Slack yet, but I'll definitely include the link to join that because that's really helpful feedback too. Because we do have a channel in there where people can just drop feedback at any point in there as well. So yeah, that's definitely helpful.
All right, getting back on track for the next bill.
Yeah, so let's see. There's too many fraud ones. All right, so I just did the fraud prevention and accountability. Wait, which one did I do? We just did the stop
payments. I think you did payments, right?
Stop fraudulent payments. Yeah.
Okay, so we're on
the next one is Fraud Prevention and Accountability Act.
Okay, yeah, so this one, Fraud Prevention and Accountability Act, this bill creates new fraud prevention and financial integrity functions within the Treasury, including the Do Not Pay system and a government-wide data analysis program. It authorizes secure data sharing among agencies to prevent improper payments and establishes a permanent Office of the Inspector General for Fraud, Accountability and Recovery to audit and report on federal fund fraud. The Treasury must ensure privacy protections, enter data sharing agreements, provide recommendations for large federal spending, and oversee a transition of functions by December 31st, 2028.
Who proposed?
I literally was like, I could already see John seething. So
because I know at the very end it's going to say, and it's all going to be implemented by Grok. And it's just a way of inserting Doge into the Treasury. It's data sharing between all agencies. It's going to be so easy to scoop out huge amounts of federal data, and it just gets lost in the pipeline somewhere. Or it gets baked into some AI's training data or something. I'm not again, the plain language, I'm against fraud, but considering our current political climate, I can't trust this type of broad overview and veto power across all federal spending. It seems like too much power. It's just a new Doge.
Yep. So the person that did it is Representative Pete Sessions from Texas, just in case you want to send him an email. I would agree, because the problem is normally inspector generals are above and beyond what they're actually doing. So they don't report to the actual department in which they're kind of overseeing, right?
Yep.
The way this is written is the inspector general will report to the Treasury Department.
Oh, no. So whoever's appointed as head of Treasury has control over the investigative arm? Absolutely not. 100% agree. No.
That's
No,
what I'm
there's a
saying.
hard
So
no.
that's the weird part about it. Because, like, I think when you say inspector generals, people are like, yes, we need more inspector generals because Trump fired how many of them? Like 16 the first day or something like that. We need those back. But we need them back as what they were, not like a part.
Not a political
down.
appointee.
Yes.
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense. So I'm like,
hard pass.
Oh, but it makes sense. It does make
well, you know what I'm talking
Hard pass.
about. But
I'm good.
I would also agree with John on this one for the database. This is a nightmare kind of a thing. So like anyone that has anything about digital rights or digital information privacy or anything like that, this is going to be ridiculous because they're trying to make a giant database. And if you notice, that is the trend right now in a lot of the bills that we talk about. There's always a section where they're trying to get more data into a national database. We've had at least one or two bills every single month. There's at least one or two bills that come up. And that's why. It's the same thing that I want the voter registration bills or the voter rolls from all the states. They want the information for it because they need that information because information is power.
Yep.
Yep. So I couldn't be more against this either.
Hard pass.
Yeah. Hard pass. Good in theory, not in execution. If you're going to make an inspector general, make them actually have power.
Make an inspector general. Yep.
Correct.
Totally.
They need to be nonpartisan and not be able to be influenced by anyone else. That's the whole point.
I'm gonna post something in the Slack here for you. You can take a look at
Yes,
this later.
listen to stuff. I was still deciding what bill I was going to do for this week, and I was thinking I was going to do the labor one, but now I don't know. I mean, there's always so many.
There are many.
There are many. This one sounds pretty good.
Yep. Also, they're concerned about like the power of this as well. I think that was another big thing that people were very concerned about for it. Mass amounts of personal data the Treasury could use to unauthorized surveillance and political targeting. So that was the other thing, is that it could be politically targeted. So
Dan, I sent you a rabbit hole to research in the Slack, and I'm curious what you think about that after you get a chance to take a look into it.
you know me, I love a rabbit hole. I'll really just fall down all of them.
Just call me out.
I keep breaking my ankles in them.
Yeah, if you want the extra convo, definitely get in the Slack.
Whew. Yeah.
All right, so I think I'm gonna jump us into the next one. I'm kind of regretting doing all these fraud bills back to back to back, but this is the last
Wait, are
one.
ghosts getting student loans now?
Yeah.
Yes, they are.
So this bill, No Aid for Ghost Students Act of 2026, requires the U.S. Department of Education to screen all applications for the FAFSA for identity fraud starting October 1st, 2026. Flagged applicants and their colleges must be notified, and extra identity verification is required. Before federal aid is given, colleges must keep verification records, follow federal guidelines, and report to the department. The secretary must provide annual reports to Congress and alert them to major system changes. Schools repeatedly giving aid to flagged students will face review unless they comply with the requirements. No aid for ghost students.
Wait, does that say and pensions too at the top?
I didn't see that.
Oh, referred to the Committee on Health, Education, Labor, and Pensions. Okay, sorry.
Because I was like, wait, I didn't read anything about pensions.
I was like, how does this apply to pensions?
Yeah. This is weird. So the main thing, does everybody know what ghost students are? Or should I start by explaining that?
I was thinking about it, but I think it's good if we all talk about it.
Yeah.
Okay. So basically what happens, and by the way, I'm a college professor and I work at a college. So like first hand got it.
Teach
So
a lot of ghosts.
I do. No, mostly cats. All the haunted mansion. So the main thing is it's a new type of fraud that people are doing. That's what a ghost student is where you make up a fictitious identity and then you basically enroll in school. You have no intention of actually attending classes, but you start drawing all of the financial aid money and put it in a different bank account. And then you just cease to exist. So that's why they're ghost students, because they're not an actual student or anything like that, right? But the flip side of it is that it makes it harder for actual students to get the funding, because especially like if they're low income or something like that, what they are requiring you to do is like an in-person type of verification where you have to like bring in your IDs to kind of like prove that you're you, or like live and online or something like that. I forgot the online one, but that's the problem. And the bigger part of this is the Department of Education has already rolled this out starting in spring of this year as well. And the main concern is that we're trying to codify into law this algorithm that's already trying to catch people, but it's untested because literally they just put it in the spring. And so now we're like, yes, that's going to be the law. But we're like, we haven't tested it yet. So I think we need more testing along the way to see who it's actually catching, to seeing if it is catching the people. Because if it is stopping the ghost students, I'm actually for that, right? Because trust me, I can tell when I'm teaching classes and stuff like that, when I have people, because I teach the first programming class at my school. And I have a lot of students that just never do anything in my class, and then you just don't see them the next time. And you're like, okay. And I personally can't see any other data because like FAFSA and all that kind of stuff, like I just can't see anything for it. But I always wonder if it's like something like this where they're just trying to get the money off of it. So I'm for it in general, but not how they're doing it. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
That's a lot of bills nowadays.
It seems obvious and commonsensical on its face, but at the same time, like the implementation is the bad part, right? How are they doing it?
Yep, that's about it.
And I don't trust Linda McMahon to, you know, I don't know if you saw her congressional testimony, but she had a person sitting next to her with a huge stack of index cards with all the answers on the test, and it's like, the Department of Education can't answer the questions on her own test, huh?
She doesn't have any business being there. Like, this was also personal. I get really mad at like digital currency stuff, and I get really mad at education things because literally it's just so like a part of my life that it affects me. And Linda McMahon showed up at my school, by the way. So like she showed up at Full Sail. Nobody invited her, and then she just showed up there one day, and we were like,
wow.
What? Yeah, just to
Did
kind
she
of
body
stop
slam
by.
anybody?
Say it again.
Did she body slam anybody?
She might have actually, because you know we actually film wrestling at Full Sail. So like we have a whole entire wrestling thing, like NXT wrestling is filmed at Full Sail. So like that's why she was there anyway. Right. I know. I have a funny story about how I was teaching a programming class, and then a guy in just a Speedo walked by, and I'm like, "What is going on here?" Okay.
It seems like there's a little bit of a conflict of interest here. Like they're using educational resources and facilities to film wrestling. That seems like
I can tell you this. So Full Sail's main thing is that they have video production, and so it's literally they use the students to actually film the wrestling things, and it's broadcast live, so they can put those credits inside of their CVs that they've worked on an actual TV show, and that's why we did it.
That's actually kind of cool, but it's also free filming for the wrestling people.
Nope, they pay for it.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
All right.
Yep.
Okay. A little off topic.
Sorry. Go ahead. Get back.
All right. I think if there's no other thoughts, I'm gonna try to get through the last stuff like
America.
The Secure America Act. Yeah, that's the one I probably should have started with. So this was the second reconciliation bill. So we finally funded DHS. So this one authorizes nearly $70 billion in new federal funding for border security and immigration enforcement through 2029. Lots of figures: $9.55 billion to the U.S. CBP, Customs and Border Protection, $7.45 billion to Homeland Security investigations, and ICE.
$1 billion for ICE.
Yeah, $108.5 million for child exploitation investigators, $3.45 billion for border security technology, $2.5 billion for additional DHS mission support. For immigration enforcement, it allocates $13 billion to CBP, $31 billion to ICE, and some info: $2.5 billion for DHS enforcement removal support. So yeah, lots of funding for DHS and ICE overall. But yeah, this was the second reconciliation bill, so they only needed the 50 votes
plus one. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
That's so
Could I
they didn't have to go through the filibuster.
Could I ask clarification on the bill? It says with at least 350 million for arrest and monitoring in non-cooperating jurisdictions. Does that mean that's in like blue states? Like,
Yep.
is that specifically carved out for arrests and monitoring in, like, is that what non-cooperating jurisdictions mean?
Sanctuary
That's like
city.
sanctuary cities. Yeah.
Sanctuary cities?
Yep.
Okay.
Because they don't have enough staff and the police won't help them, so they need more money in order to get more staff to do what they
Yep.
want to do,
Mm,
and that's the reason why.
Thanks.
okay.
I don't like this at all, but
So you're a no? What about you, Eric? You a yes or a no on this?
I'm a no.
Yeah.
I'm a hard no.
Hard no.
I don't know. I just, the funding for the technology on the border or whatever, that's just more flock cameras and Palantir money
Yep.
and, stuff like that. They got this one thing, 108.5 million for child exploitation investigators. Well, didn't they shut down the entire trafficking arm of the FBI and put them on immigration? Like, if they actually cared about that stuff, then they wouldn't have eliminated all of the people that were investigating trafficking before.
So
Right.
I actually dove into that one because I thought that was kind of a weird part of it as well. And so it's Renewed Hope Act, and it's bipartisan legislation. And the idea for it is it solves manpower shortages because of what you just said. So they're trying to restaff Homeland Security investigations in order to make sure that people are actively going after the child's sex abusers and stuff like that. So there's always good pieces in bills. Like, that's great. I think they should do that part of it. But with the rest of it, again, you're wrapping like one good thing in mounds of crap. And then you're like, pass it now. And you're like,
Follow it. Yeah. It's
right.
Could I ask another question?
You can ask
If
anything
they-
you want.
Do you know, like, if they have the 108 million for child exploitation investigators, and let's say they are not able to have that many, is there anything in the provision of the bill that says that those funds can be reallocated to other departments within the same, under the same umbrella? So,
Yep.
okay.
Yeah, I have no
ways
doubt they could just misuse, abuse, or just completely reroute those funds. I have no
Absolutely.
doubt.
And they also have a $5 billion discretionary fund, which Mark Wayne Mullins can just do whatever he wants with.
Oh,
So
God.
$5 billion to just play around with, and then there you go.
It'd be funny if he came out with a commercial exactly like Kristi Noem, riding a horse on some mountains.
I love that is what got her fired. Like, of all the things that she did,
It was
making a commercial.
What's crazy to me, it wasn't even that. It was that when she testified in front of
Said
Congress,
Trump.
they asked her,
I know.
"Did you have approval from Donald Trump?"
Yep.
And she was like, "Yeah, I had approval from Donald Trump."
And
After
it
a whole
was
bunch
the
of
Republican senator
and
that did it.
because
And I was like,
because she exposed the president to liability. That's what got her fired.
yep. But it was about the commercial. That was why.
Yep.
She spent so much money on it because it's ridiculous.
And with a company that nobody can trace and that was incorporated 9 days before she gave him the contract, a no-bid contract for $220 million.
They could trace it right back to her.
Yeah.
Like, what are you doing? Or her staffers, but that's beside the point. All right. Yeah, I'm just against it always because I literally have been protesting against ICE since we started this whole thing. So,
Well, and they've already got so much money from the Big Beautiful Bill and from all the other appropriations from before. Why do they need more, $70 billion?
well, the thing about why they did it, let me actually tell you. So, they did it so then they can use that over the next 3 years. So they don't have to go through this anymore.
To get in front
Correct.
of midterms because they know they won't be able to get more funding if they lose the midterms.
Ding, ding, ding. You got it. So that's what they're doing is they're stockpiling all the money and then they're distributing it over the next 3 years. And it has to be used by, wait, I have it here, September of 2029. That's when that goes out. So, yep, that's why.
Yeah.
100%. And then that's why they use the reconciliation package for it as well. Because they know they would never pass it. Anyway.
So did it pass?
It did pass.
Oh.
It passed the Senate by 52 to 47, and it passed 214 to 212 in the House. But we did have 2 wins, so I will tell you here, right? The White House ballroom was supposed to be in it, the $1 billion for that, and it got stripped out of it. And also the anti-weaponization slush fund was also included in it, and it also got taken out. So at the very least, we have at least 2 wins of it, and then we're just dealing with the rest of it. But at least there's a ray of hope, a silver lining, if you will. But yeah. Anyway.
Yeah, so that one would have gotten filibustered. And yeah, thanks for joining, Tobias.
Bye, Tobias.
He was in one of these before, right, Tobias?
Yeah. He's actually working on like a new kind of layout because he's trying to like redesign the site and make it a little bit user friendly. And he's doing actually a lot of stuff. So
nice.
Yeah, I've had a separate meeting with him.
He helped redesign our one pager for candidates and legislators.
Yeah.
So so voting on this this is already, we were supposed to vote on this a while back.
The Secure Act America one?
Yeah.
Yeah, that it stopped on June earlier this week, I think, like a week ago, maybe. Was it?
Yeah, this was a really fast one. I think this one happened really fast.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. This is one of those where we're trying to balance making sure that we get the final amended one, especially on a bill like this, because there are a lot of little tiny details. But yeah, this one, it says, if I can find it, in the Senate, it was a really quick turnaround.
Because it didn't go through a whole bunch of committees. It didn't have to bounce back and forth for amendments. It was just a continuing resolution. And, this is like you were talking about, like wanting to be able to vote on the bill with the riders in it. This is kind of the challenge that we run into as an organization, right? Is that we could wait till the absolute last minute, but then you've only got 2 or 3 days to vote on it at all. Or, if we want to show you the bill as it was proposed, then you've got a month that you could come and vote on it at any point. And so, everything becomes this huge trade-off that there seems to be no real good answer here.
I like versioned history if we're talking about solutions.
Yeah, I like 1A, 1B, 1C, 1D. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
I like that too.
Yeah.
All right, we'll have to relay this.
All right. What's next? Ukraine?
I'll add in too. I always find it interesting, like this bill in relation to other bills that were like cutting funding, but then we're putting funding here. I think it's always interesting to compare different bills. So we have 2 more. Okay, we got a couple more. So yeah, we'll jump into the Ukraine one next, and then the FDA bill. So Ukraine Support Act. So this bill, I think this one came from a discharge petition too. So this bill expands U.S. support for Ukraine in response to Russia's invasion, reaffirming cooperation with NATO, condemns abuses like the forced transfer of Ukrainian children, and provides wide-ranging diplomatic, economic, and military aid, including expanded Lend-Lease authority, foreign military financing, and insurance for shipping and investment in Ukraine. The bill creates a Ukraine Reconstruction Trust Fund, promotes nuclear energy cooperation, and supports independent news by countering Russian disinformation. It imposes broad sanctions on Russian industries and banks, including higher tariffs, tighter export limits, and penalties for oil trade and nuclear threats, while including humanitarian exemptions.
So this one was the discharge. You are correct. So that's how they got it to the floor, because they did not want it on the floor. So they kind of went around Mike Johnson by doing the discharge.
Who is Heritage Action for America?
Say that again?
Isn't that
Heritage Action for America opposed it?
The Project 2025? Am I thinking?
Oh, Heritage? Yeah, Heritage Foundation. Yeah.
Oh my God. How? Oh, Jesus.
So this one actually is kind of interesting because it does a couple different things, kind of actually pretty well. One of the things it does is it handcuffs the presidential ability to change things. So, because normally the president can have unilateral authority to kind of lift or modify any kind of economic sanctions.
Sanctions, yeah.
Correct. And so this bill specifically takes that power away from him.
Nice.
And it takes it away from any other kind of future White House people as well. So it's kind of the cool part about it, because I think Congress is finally trying to take back some of their power, which is a long time coming. So I'm kind of glad for that.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
I think that sanction provision is probably the best part of it, because I know that right before we attacked Iran, Donald Trump or right after we attacked Iran and gas was skyrocketing, he removed all the sanctions from Russia. And Russia was, because they had been under sanctions for so long because of the Ukraine war, they had been stockpiling all this oil. And then as soon as oil peaks in value and the price of oil starts to skyrocket and demand skyrockets, then suddenly he's like, hey, Russia, sell all your oil around the world. And they get this huge
top dollar. And I'm like,
yeah, it's absolutely insane. So yeah, having the ability to let Congress deal with the sanctions, I think, is probably the best part of the bill. Though there is something I'm a little bit worried about. There was something in there that said something about insurance for being basically like
the Ukrainian one.
Yeah. So is that like U.S. companies creating insurance market in Ukraine? Because I know that I think Donald Trump's sons just bought one of the largest drone manufacturers in Ukraine. Ukraine is probably, I think they're like cutting edge in warfare drone technology right now.
They are.
Donald Trump's sons just bought a controlling interest in the company or something like that.
They did. They bought the interest in the company, and then they got immediately turned around with like in a week or maybe 2 weeks, and then got the contract to make drones for the Ukraine through America. So
yep. And then also, I think they're going to be selling these drones to the Gulf states because they're all worried about the Iran situation and they want to arm themselves. And if we're now going to create an insurance market to insure their deliveries and stuff like that, I'm not sure that I'm.
You know what? I don't have anything in my notes about the insurance stuff, so that's kind of the weird part about it.
It reminds me a lot of what was going on with the Strait of Hormuz with being able to insure these ships, and that's why. The oil tankers were not moving through because they could not obtain insurance.
Yeah.
And the United States typically would insure their own ships to move through, and they weren't doing that.
That makes sense. Yeah. Oh, side note, did you see that there was a UK had boarded a sanctioned Russian oil tanker that was moving across Britain's waterway? I think it was earlier today or yesterday. And as soon as they jumped on the ship, 8 other ghost ships turned and went in the other direction. So as soon as the UK boarded one of their sanctioned ships, 8 ships changed directions immediately and like dispersed back out into the ocean.
That's interesting. I didn't hear about that yet.
Yeah, it's worth looking into. It's kind of funny.
I know. I've been in meetings all day, and so I haven't really got to watch the news, and I'm like, feeling withdrawal. I know.
I mean, my 2 cents on this, like I'm just a firm person on. We need to stop providing funding abroad with a lot of these. I think Ukraine has turned into something to where we're just caught. I don't know.
So you're against funding Ukraine?
I would like to pull back from what we're doing in Ukraine. Yeah.
Interesting.
That is interesting.
I mean, that'll probably be like another 2-hour conversation to talk about, but
we should have it, honestly. Or maybe we could do it after Sadie hits stop on the record thing there.
Yeah. Let me try to talk you into it though, because what it does is this actually gives $8 billion in financing for Ukraine, but it's loans mostly. So it's not like we're paying for it. Like that was what they were trying to do with the whole the rare minerals. How they were going to pay us back is they're going to let us help mine their minerals and then we get parts of it. So that's kind of how they're going to attempt to pay us back for those loans for that kind of stuff.
So this is Lend-Lease. I see Lend-Lease Authority. So that's yeah, that makes sense.
2 other fun things though. It said about tariffs in there, and what they're going to do is they're going to put 500% tariffs on all imports because they're trying to completely decouple America from Russia. So they are going to put substantial tariffs on there so we don't buy anything from them, or you have to pay like crazy amounts of money for it. So that's what they're trying to do for that. Second thing they're doing is they are trying to target their banking systems in Russia because when we started doing it, we cut off all their money to normal banks. And so then they started going to more like different kind of lower lenders and, I forgot what they actually called them. It was like more tech lenders. Sorry.
Oh, I thought you were talking about BRICS. I'm sorry.
Yeah, this was more like tech companies that were still allowing them to borrow money and stuff like that. And so this puts a complete total. Say that again?
So like private equity?
Let me read it, because let me just go down to where I have the notes for it. It is targeting the communication infrastructure that allows money to move. So so any kind of dark money and stuff like that. So that's what they're starting to target. So
Okay.
because they were kicked out of the SWIFT global banking system, they relied on alternative financial messaging systems to discreetly move money internationally. But this stops the tech companies from allowing them to do it. So it's really cutting off all the money. I do too. I like that one.
So you're
And the other
regulating
part
the pipeline instead of the end bank. I think that's good.
Yeah. And then one more thing, because it said it in there, the nuclear energy cooperation part of it. That one is kind of interesting because the idea for it is that so many countries over there are dependent on Russia for their energy, for their nuclear energy systems. I forgot what it's called. Let me see if I can find it real quick in my notes. Or Rotsam? I'm saying that wrong. Rosatom? Anyone?
Rostam.
I'll take that. Rostam then. And so now they're trying to actually figure out working together with the European countries and Ukraine to try to build alternative energy sources that people can use instead of Russia. So they're trying to cut off all ties to Russia, including energy dependence on it. So that's what that comes from.
I like it.
I did too. I thought it was a pretty good
I don't
bill.
know. I
would have voted yes for it. For me personally, I would have voted yes.
Eric, I have to say, man, the reason I'm for it, okay, is number one, we in the 70s we trained the Mujahideen in order to hurt Russia, right? And so we basically hurt Russia through a proxy war using Afghani people. And then after 9/11, we went into Iraq, and then Russia funded ISIS and Al Qaeda in order to hurt the U.S. through a proxy war. And Ukraine gave up their nukes that were left after the collapse of the USSR, and we signed the treaty in, was it like 93 or something like that, where we basically guaranteed them protection from invasion. That was part of the deal for them giving up their nukes. Otherwise, they'd have nukes right now that they could point at Russia and shake a big stick at them to not be invaded. And because we signed that agreement with them and guaranteed them security, Russia also signed too, by the way. I think that we do owe them something because we took away their ability to defend themselves. And then at the same time, we get to also hurt Russia through another proxy war. So I think Ukraine's an ally. They wanted to be part of NATO. I think, you know what, they're willing to address a lot of their corruption. I think we should do it. I also like Zelensky. Zelensky's a cool cat.
Yeah.
My only statement is I want to move past boomer mentality that Russia's the number one enemy in the world, that we need to continue a ongoing war with them.
I don't think they're the number one enemy, but I do think they're an enemy.
I don't think they're the number one enemy either. I don't know. This has gone on long enough to where we just waste a bunch of military and money going up against Russia.
So what do you think about the cyber warfare stuff? Whenever Robert Mueller did the investigation, Robert Mueller found what was the Internet Research Agency or something like that, some group of Russians that was basically coming in and taking over a lot of our social media and creating a lot of bot accounts and influencing
Americans. How much do we do?
I'm sure we do a bunch, but that's not to say that I agree that we should.
I just don't I don't know. And I don't know the ins and outs of everything that's been going on, but do
you think that there's an equivalence to Hillary Clinton coming out and saying that Russia doesn't have real democratic elections and that he stole the election and he's an illegitimate leader of Russia and that the Russian people deserve to have an actual voice in an actual democracy, as equivalent to what the Internet Research Agency did to influence our election and brainwash a whole bunch of people in our country to believe in conspiracies that never happened? I think it's of a different kind. In one case, she called out their political atmosphere and their political power class, and in their case, they hurt our citizens, right? Which then had an upstream or downstream effect of hurting our political class.
We're really getting in the weeds. We're at 2 hours.
We'll save it for later. I'm sorry.
All right. Yeah, at the 2 hour mark, I'm like, okay, we gotta wrap this up. So we still have 3 bills left. Okay, so this one, agriculture.
I'm sorry, Sadie, can I ask a question about the voting? So on the app, I'm able to vote for the bills that have already gone through the voting process. Is that just to gather data, or even though the voting may have closed?
Yeah, I was going to comment on this earlier, so I'm glad you brought it up again. We might in the future, and Cassie, I think I'm getting a lot of background from you.
Thank you. I'm sorry.
It's all right. We might in the future kind of go through and close the voting on the bills that have already passed, but that's not something we're doing yet. But yeah, I think it's still helpful to know like how people feel about bills even after the fact. So yeah, either way.
Okay, thanks. Because I'm voting on them as we're talking about them, but I'm like, oh well, this is already closed, so am I too late?
I think there could be a benefit. Like if I were a representative and there was a vote coming up on a bill and it was coming through really fast, like the CR, it might be beneficial to go back to previous bills that were similar, that did or did not pass, and see what the new activity is on it to kind of get a reading on people's general feelings on something akin to what we're about to vote on, even though it can't get through the process of getting everybody to vote on it this time. I think there's a lot of value to being able to try and take the temperature of the public through past attempts.
Will you please write that down? Because that is such an interesting idea that I would love to go back and like look back in the bills and get topics and then see how people vote on the different topics. That is such a the data.
Yeah, I've thought about this for a long time. I've thought about also trying to kind of suss out whether or not the way that we word certain phrases, even though they're functionally the same thing, changes support for it.
Oh, 100%.
I mean, you see it in polling all the time, right? There's if you said, hey, are you for a woman's right to choose? And you say, hey, are you for murdering babies? They're very different questions, and they're going to have totally different answers because of just the way that you ask the question.
Daniel Webster does a poll for every single one of his emails that he takes out, and it's always worded the worst way you could possibly do it. It's like, would you like to not support America? And you're like, what? You're like, who says no? Like, okay, great, thanks. I'll give you an example later, but I don't want to waste time. But yeah. But,
Sadie's going to kill us.
No, I 100% love that idea, and I would like to dive more into that because, yes. So put that on the to-do list. All right.
This
about agriculture.
This was super dense, of course. Lots of funding again too. Provides $204 billion for the U.S. Department, USDA, and FDA and rural development. Includes $26.27 billion in discretionary funding. I thought it was important to include a $380 million, 1.4% decrease from last year. The cut reflects reduced spending for the SNAP, and for WIC and rural development and certain USDA research and administrative accounts. SNAP and WIC also receive less mandatory funding, but then it does fund school meals, food safety, farm loans, rural infrastructure, and agricultural research. It includes $200 million for FDA enforcement against illegal e-cigarettes, updated pet food labeling, grants for pet shelters, specialty crops, and senior nutrition. Congressional approval would be required to close any agricultural research service labs.
I dove into this one because I wanted to know what those had to do with each other. Because I was like, what does dog food have to do with our farm stuff, right? And it's shared in the same Department of Agriculture. And so that controls literally all of it. So that's kind of why it isn't, because it's one of those big ass bills that kind of is a whole bunch of stuff shoved together in it. So that's kind of what's going on here for it. But I will say one thing. It did get $4.6 billion more dollars allocated to it than it was asked for by the president. So I think they were trying to cut it even more. And then I think Congress said, no, they need $4.6 billion more than that. So it's kind of an interesting thing about it.
Yeah. I thought the illegal e-cigs was kind of random too.
The e-cigs are weird. And there's a whole bunch of other different things. I'll talk about those in a minute. But does anybody have any thoughts about the bill itself? Because I have 4 weird things about it.
I want to hear the weird things.
I don't know weird things. I didn't look at it beforehand, but.
Thank you, Erica, for joining.
Bye, Erica. It's good to see you. Thanks for stopping by. Did you say you have a question?
Yeah. So if I'm reading it correctly, you said there's $4.6 billion more, but then there's a decrease and reduced funding for the supplemental nutrition program for women and infants and children, the WIC program. So they got more of a budget than they asked for, but yet there's a decrease to like the WIC program. Is that correct? Okay.
Yep. Absolutely. Because they're putting that money towards other stuff and never towards what probably should be it. Probably should go to.
That was a really close vote too, 213 to 210.
Oh, it's closed.
No, yeah, close. In
the voted on it
in the House,
and it passed on June 4th in the House.
Okay.
But now it's in the Senate, I believe. I'm trying to look. I think it's still in the Senate. Yeah. So I'll start telling the weird things then while you guys are looking that up. One, it contains a controversial policy rider that restricts the sale of hemp-derived products like Delta-8, the THC, by narrowing what it is to define industrial hemp. Because the people are making drinks like seltzers out of them now, and so they're trying to kind of limit that. And I don't know why, but they also tried to do it before because I think Rand Paul actually put it in a different bill a couple months ago to try to get rid of Delta-8 as well. The other thing that I really am excited that it does, because you know these bills, always good stuff, always bad stuff, is it, let me try to find it more time because I did it. It bans the use of testing drugs on dogs. So that's kind of the cool part about it. Yep. So
okay. So us using dogs as test animals for drugs. Okay.
Correct.
I thought you meant dog drug testing, and I was like, is dog drug usage a big problem that we're like?
Heroin's a really big thing for dachshunds. Back pain problem. It starts really easily and goes down from there. No. To test drugs and stuff like that. And so they want to use more things like digitally, because they can do stuff on like organs on a chip, it's called, where they can do other kind of tests. So they're trying to stop doing that kind of stuff. Okay. Other things it does is it legally shields individuals and organizations that donate pet-related products. So encourages donatable charity giving to pet shelters, which I like. Then it goes into the weirder SNAP stuff. So it also allows school meals to switch out the vegetables for fruits. And it never could before, which was the strange part, right? So it was very specific about school meals had included vegetable, and you couldn't switch the vegetable out for fruit. So that's what they're adding into that. And then the last thing is, and this one is very, very weird, all right? It is a heritable gene editing ban, all right? Now, It's correct. So it prohibits the use of any federal funds to review, approve, or support research that involves intentional editing of heritable genes that alter the genes that can be passed on to future siblings. So basically when you're doing like medical work, a heritable gene is like if you work on a cell that then multiplies and then it affects the person from forever, right? And a non-heritable gene is when you actually use a medication that you put in a live person that's already like fully formed, then you can treat something different for it. So they are trying to stop things that change embryos at a cellular level, kind of a thing. And it's really to stop like designer children because they are concerned to the point where we can only like, I want a blonde child with blue eyes that is muscular, or I don't know what it is, but it's kind of stuff like that.
Yeah, so but to be able to say like Huntington's runs in my family and I don't want my kid to have Huntington's, I'm all for that. See, and again, this is painting with too broad a brush, in my opinion.
I would agree. Yep. So the problem is like it's the main thing that they want to try to get rid of is a child that has edited DNA. And the way they're doing it is they're not saying you can't do that. They will just never fund anything for it and never review anything for it, the FDA, which means you can never get it approved by anything. So they're essentially banning it by never reviewing the process for it.
I think this is absolutely the wrong way to go about it, too, because now all that means is that you're going to have possibly unsafe processes happening. There's going to be this black market for gene editing in your embryos that the federal government isn't going to have any documentation on what works and what doesn't. We're not going to have a like progressively better system that gets better with testing and understanding and you know studies. This is the absolute wrong way to do it. This is silly.
But again, it is one tiny rider in a farm bill.
But these are riders, correct? These aren't actually part of the bill text.
That one is a rider. That's specifically that was added to it.
It's dumb. I don't like it.
I would agree. I think bills should be about one thing and one thing only, and then let's vote on that one thing.
Yeah,
right.
I totally agree.
Yeah, because then you could read the entire document about them. They could stay to 3 pages or less, maybe 4. But then you need to have all the financial pages as well, and any other
documents.
Documents. So like you're already at a 20-page situation, and no, you shouldn't be having 17 things in the same one.
Well, and the amendments would actually, maybe the rule should be it actually has to amend the text, not add a whole new set of words or, something like that. It has to actually amend something about the topic of the bill. Like that's what amendments are. They're not just adding your own pet project on top of it, stapling on, cryptocurrency stuff to the farm bill.
I will say, from doing other state bills, there's definitely some states that are very to the topic. Their bills are very focused, and I do feel
they frown upon the irrelevant riders.
Yeah, I mean, and then you try to like, well, this is good, but this is bad, so it just complicates everything unnecessarily. Or you want to get something passed, so you add something that sounds good. It's just, not the way to govern.
Sorry, I just saw Cassie's response in the chat, and it was funny.
Thank you.
Are they counting avocados as a fruit or a vegetable? I need to know this.
I do.
Yeah, I didn't think I'd try to ask Mobot about that one. All right, we have 2 left.
Yep.
So,
onwards. We're going to get through it.
So this one I had heard a little bit about in the media. So Faster Labor Contracts Act. This bill amends the NLRA, National Labor Relations Act, to speed up first union contract negotiations. After a union is certified, employers and unions must start talks within 10 days of a written request. If no agreement is reached within 90 days, each party can request federal mediation. If mediation fails within 30 days, a 3-person arbitration panel sets a binding 2-year contract. Employers must keep current pay and working conditions during talks. Also requires a report to Congress on average time to contract within a year, and sets firm deadlines and a binding process to resolve first contracts between newly unionized workers and employers. Very specific.
Honestly, yeah, it is very specific, and honestly, it's worded really well. Like, I was searching for like unusual things about it, and I couldn't find anything really bad about it. Like, honestly, it's a pretty good bill. I would vote yes for it.
This one?
I am for this one because I like it. I haven't found anything really wrong with it.
Didn't we address this one last time? And it was a little more meta than talking about the text.
It was a different labor bill, but it was sort of the same, I think.
It was very similar. And I think one of the reasons that they were against it was that, like, if the company and the union can't come together, then you have these mediators that come in that kind of, they just figure it out, and like whatever they say is binding. And I think the problem with that was a lot of times those mediators are paid for by the company, and the fact that the union would be bound by the decision of the mediator, that would remove their ability to strike. Or
I think we had talked about it, that the arbitrators had to be a third party and couldn't be hired by anybody else. I think last time, right?
I mean, yeah, but when they did the Paramount acquisition, the financial company that did the audit, they were supposed to be a third party, but it actually turns out that they had done like hundreds of millions of dollars worth of work for who's the guy that owns Paramount? I forget his name. Larry Ellison.
Yeah.
But yeah, so the two companies there, the 1 or 2 companies they hired to audit the deal for Paramount, they had not disclosed, they had done like hundreds of millions of dollars of work for Larry Ellison in the recent past too. So I don't know how much I trust the idea of just a third party organization. And I don't know how much I trust binding a union to a decision that they can no longer strike, like, because it seems like the strike, the ability to strike is the power and leverage that the union holds, right?
I don't remember reading anything that it did take away the power for strike.
But if they're
last bill,
the
last bill that we had talked about specifically called where they couldn't strike. This is a different bill on it that does not include that language that I could find on it, or that I read.
I mean, if it doesn't hamstring them from their ability to strike, then I think I'm more behind it.
Yeah, really what this is for is to help labor unions get a thing, because the problem is bigger companies were like tapping them along, like stringing them along for years. And that was the problem. And they couldn't get an actual answer. And so they the labor unions are behind this. These are the people that are behind this one. So like they are clearly the people that are fighting for it because they want faster negotiations and without being drawn out for it. And the people that are against it is like the Chamber of Commerce. That's who's against it. And you're like, what?
Well, Dan, when Sadie showed the people who are for it and people who are against it, there was a much longer list of organizations against it.
Yeah.
And
I was like, just kind of talk the big ones. You can see it right there.
Yeah,
the
the first one is the Chamber of Commerce, but I did notice that list went longer. And I was just wondering if anybody knew, like, why so many of.
I mean, that's a lot of organizations that are trying to control their labor. So something like retail organizations that don't want union activity happening. I see National Retailers Association on there. Like it's
Bankers Associates. Can you close
Outdoor Power Equipment Engine Service?
Yeah.
Like Ready Mix Concrete Association, chain
American
restaurants.
Trucking.
Like,
American Trucking is huge.
Right. You're talking like the bigger corporations don't want to deal with it because they like to not have to deal with the unions, and then they can kind of get around it.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what it is.
Like imagine what all the truckers are going to do when they start bringing AI-driven trucks onto the road. And they're during that transition period, the truckers that are currently working, they're going to go on strike. And they're going to say, "Oh, you think AI can replace us? Then do it all by yourself." And
I watched a whole entire 45-minute documentary on that. The exact thing with people that are already driving semis and stuff like that. Yep. The other thing that people, the companies don't like about this one is that it's forced financial transparency. Because normally, private companies do not have to open their financial books during a union negotiation unless the company explicitly claims that they were unable to pay the union's demands. But because this requires an arbitration panel to consider the employee's financial condition, then when they do that, then the legal experts can actually review their finances.
Nice. That's good.
Which is why the companies don't like it, because they're like, these are private.
Yep. I like that. I wonder if that can be FOIA'd after the fact, too.
Oh. You always have good things, John. Every single time I was like, I need to take notes on just what John says.
I'm sneaky. I don't know. I like to find out what's going on behind the curtain.
I was highlight too. That's another example of what I like to use VoteBot for. It'll provide the specific citations for like why an organization took a stance. I don't want to get too far in the weeds, but yeah, that's a way to hear it from like their perspective.
Okay, that's it. Yeah, thank you.
But you do have to often ask it, like specifically say, do a web search. Can you do a web search? That'll prompt it to go beyond just the bill text.
Can you scroll down and let's see what the reason why somebody like is against it? Like, because I saw it there, but it went by too fast.
Let's look at something other than the U.S. Chamber of Commerce, because that seems a little bit obvious.
Right.
But something a little bit more like benign, like you wouldn't have thought they would have been against it.
Independent business, maybe? What was that one? Or
right there. It's likely unconstitutional and would strip newly unionized people.
I liked the quick shortcut though, because that's where we're gonna have to read a whole entire article of 2 pages.
Oh, I can go back to
Okay.
Express strong opposition, stating that the legislature is unconstitutional, would strip newly unionized small businesses and their employees of their right to freely negotiate. Yeah, I read that too about like adding restrictions.
They had 100 days. They didn't come to an agreement. Now we need to come in and arbitrate.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I like it.
If the unions wrote the bill, then
Yeah, I like unions too. Eric, do you have anything on the bill? We haven't heard from. Is he still on? I don't actually check.
I'm on
for it.
Oh, okay, there you go.
Do
you have anything for it? Yeah, I think so too.
I think it's a great. I wish it would pass.
Yeah, I don't know if it's passed yet.
I think it passed in the House.
Yeah, 230 to 193. So that's good.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was trying to ask about which legislators voted in favor, but VoteBot must be acting up right now.
It seems like an instant veto when it hits Trump's desk, though.
You know what's funny is
Jeff Bezos is going to come in and make another donation to the ballroom, and then suddenly this is going to get vetoed.
Well, I think it has a lot of support though. So like 293 or 230 to 193 is pretty good in the House.
It's a good margin.
Close.
I agree.
And so I think in Senate, I think people are going to have to vote for it to support the unions, and so they might get the veto-proof majority in there. So
I bet they will be just shy of it, so that the people who reluctantly voted for it, that wanted to please their lobbyists, but did this to save face to the public, so that they could try and get reelected next term, they're just going to let Trump do the dirty work.
Yep.
More political gamesmanship is what I expect here.
Yeah.
I see the hesitation to go against the unions.
Mm-hmm.
All right. I think we're down to the last one.
Charlotte Woodward.
Do you have any other thoughts
On that one? I don't have anything. Anybody else?
Nope.
All right. So let's see. Yeah, this one I had not heard of. I know Charles wanted to mix it up with a different kind of bill. This one, Charlotte Woodward Organ Transplant Discrimination Prevention Act. So this bill would prevent hospitals and transplant centers from denying organ transplants to patients solely because they have a physical or mental disability. Providers must consider the support networks available to a patient, make reasonable accommodations, unless doing so would fundamentally alter the procedure or cause undue burden. Medical decisions may still consider disabilities if they are medically relevant to the transplant's outcome. Patients who believe they have faced discrimination can file complaints with the Office for Civil Rights. The bill upholds existing protections under the ADA and allows states to offer even stronger protections. This was a bill that a situation I wouldn't have known about without this bill.
Yeah. So the main problem here is it's actually named after Charlotte Woodward, and she's a disability rights advocate with Down syndrome. And she received a heart transplant, and she just wants to make sure that everyone else that has kind of a disability has access to the same kind of things for it. Because she's been fighting for this for like a decade. And there are a couple of advocacy groups that are really for this, that are kind of pushing it, that helped write the whole bill. It's actually a really well-written bill. The main problem with it is at the very last minute, they included some kind of amendments in the Senate, and it scared everybody. And so the people that actually put it in, which let me look up the name of that again, because I don't want to say it, National Down Syndrome Society, told everybody to wait, because after those amendments got changed, they're like, wait. We want to make sure that the changes don't affect anything that we're doing. So please put this on hold for us. So right now it's on hold because they asked them to put it on hold for that kind of reason. Yeah. And it's stupid because they made like a manager's amendment for it, which is just like they trying to change the underlying enforcement framework. And so that's the problem with it, like how they're actually going to enforce these laws to different hospitals and companies. And so when they made those changes, then the actual group said, wait, we're going to make sure that this doesn't make loopholes that people can use for this kind of stuff. Yeah. And it mainly comes down to, like, before people would not allow people to have, like, if you have like Down syndrome or autism, something like that, then they thought that you couldn't follow the instructions and the stuff to make sure that you have a good recovery. That was the main thing for it. So that's the support network language in there. That's what they're doing. So they're considering, like, hey, who's going to be able to help you with this? Is it a friend? Is it a family? Is it a group? Like, what is your support network that's going to make sure that you take your pill every day on time, or that you're going to be doing this kind of stuff? And so it's a really good written law.
It sounded good on its face. I think I think I agree with it.
Yep. And it still does carve out exceptions for medical reasons. So, like, you can't just get rubber stamped for that kind of stuff. But if you have like an actual medical reason, what they have to do is they have to do it individually. So they can't, you have Down syndrome, you can't do this. Like, they have to talk to that person, see if they are, see how what they are on the scale of it, see their support network, and then they have to give an individual reason. They can't just do a blanket statement.
One thing that I might change about it was the part that said that if you feel like you've been discriminated against, you can file a complaint. Like, that doesn't sound like it has any teeth to me. I feel like there needs to be a clear and expedited process to, like, put them back on the list in the order that they were in if it is found that they were discriminated against.
You know what's interesting is I don't know how to look up previous versions of bills yet. And so I should find that, because, like, that sounds like the enforcement thing that we were talking about. That's the reason that they changed it last minute. That might be the reason that they wanted to pause on this. So that sounds like that, you know?
That's the one issue I had with wording. was just you can file a complaint if you think we didn't follow the law. Like, and that doesn't sound great.
Yeah. So I bet you that's what that is. But I have to figure out a way to go back in the bill versions or something like that because I don't know. Anyway,
Yeah, I'm
that's
not
my
sure I
two
can do that either.
Yeah.
I know.
Is it time to turn off the bots?
Wait a minute. Let's see. Are we all caught up?
It's time to break out the tequila.
Does
Let's
anyone
do
have,
an official end to it, though.
I was gonna say,
wrap it up.
yeah, does anyone have any last minute thoughts or questions? Because, yeah, that was our last bill for this legislative forum.
Yeah.
And if not, then, Dan, I already forgot what date you dropped in, but we'll have another one. What was it, July 21st?
July 21st. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, so July 21st will be the next one. And again, I'll send all this info in a follow-up email. But yeah, especially if you're still on here, I definitely thank you for hanging out and, yeah, sharing your thoughts too.
Yeah.
And yeah, if you have any questions, let us know too.
Yeah, we always have a good time doing this, and we really appreciate you guys coming and being a part of it, especially like when you chime in. So that's wonderful, like even in the chat or on camera. It's really great. And just to answer Cassie's question, an avocado is a fruit.
Well, it is. I just don't know what they are thinking.
When you asked
It
that,
has
it
a seed.
I was standing on a funny note. You're fine.
I loved it.
It reminded me of knowledge is knowing that a tomato is a fruit, wisdom is knowing not to put it in a fruit salad, and philosophy is wondering whether or not it's a smoothie. If ketchup is a smoothie.
All right, let's end there.
Thanks, everyone.
Yeah, thank you
everybody.
again.
Ciao.
Bye.
Yeah. And if you guys want to stay, we are probably going to talk a little bit after. So anybody that wants to. Just make
Yeah,
sure that-